Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me? Okay, am I coming through clear? Just gotta make sure before I set everything up. Brilliant. Whoop. Alright, let's try. There we go. Okay. We've not hit nighttime yet, so the lighting in here is daytime lighting. As long as I don't adjust the curtains too much. We seem to be pretty alright. I've got some lights at me, but you can't even see. Alrighty. Got my fucking wrist. As per usual, not great. But you know, I haven't been helping it. Anyway, how we doing? Pretty low on the audio end. Maybe I'll just make the mic a little closer to my face. How's the audio, everyone? Is it too high, too low? Should I be turning it up? What are we doing? Just right? Okay, that's fine. Good. Right. So let's give a couple updates. Alright, audio good. That is great. Right. So, I'm going to give a couple updates real quick. As of yesterday, my latest video on Studio Arms got more traction than I possibly could have expected. I think at this current point it's about 94,000 views or something. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that one. But in the case of that happening, it has been age restricted as of yesterday, and there's nothing I can do about it. I tried to appeal it, but I mean, it is like me really walking in the line. I mean, I did keep a child's spine getting ripped out in there, and you know, I did my best to cover up nudity, but YouTube doesn't care if you censor it or not, so it was only a matter of time, I guess. I was hoping it would be a little longer than this, but you know, what can you expect? So what that kind of means is that about 80% of the views it would usually get are now gone. So for example, before it was age restricted, we were looking at maybe 2,000 views a day, which is really fucking good, quite frankly. I didn't think it would keep that pace. It didn't really slow down ever. It was just around that every day, continuously. So that was, you know, impressive for such a weird topic. I guess most people just saw that Alphen Lead was on the thumbnail and got nostalgic. But yeah, there's not really much I can do. All I can say is, like, if you like the video and you know someone that might like it too, share it, please, if you feel like it. I mean, it's done alright. Like, it's not gonna die a horrible death. It's done just fine, I guess. I just would have been nice if I could have kept it out of the adults only rating. YouTube has you know, gotten it, but I don't think there's anything I can do there. So yeah, that is number one of the day. Number two of the day is, I guess in the next day or two, the copyright strike. Yeah, this happened last time. King Records, also being sued right now, King Records, infamous asshole company on YouTube, shit record label, works with anime studios, currently being sued for not finishing making an anime or something. They striked one of my videos, which I don't even think they own the rights to. Hopefully in the next day or two, that's gonna sort itself out. I sent my response a couple weeks ago now. It should, in a day or two, I think it should even out, which hopefully puts us in a better position. You know, when you lose 10,000, I mean, it wasn't a big video, but like when you lose 10,000 views overnight, it does hurt. So like getting them back should hopefully keep the channel healthy. Considering as well that we've lost a huge momentum pusher with the Alphen Lead. It's not gone, but like YouTube will not be recommending it to anyone, so it's all going to be like found through searches now and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's the two updates there. I've been working on a video about Nausicaa, Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind. I've been doing a lot of drawing. Many of you may not know, my wrist is fucked. Carpal tunnel, repetitive strain, just one of the two. I actually get to see a doctor soon-ish, but not soonish. in about a month's time, I will be having my first appointment talking to a doctor in the flesh about them maybe scanning my wrist, having a look at it, and telling me what's wrong with it properly. I'm pretty sure it's carpal tunnel, but they need to double check this stuff before they'll do anything about it. I'm looking at getting like maybe like an injection or something. They do these steroid injections for this stuff if you if you get the right person. But it would be nice because it's really hurting I guess the productivity of it. I'm trying to be careful with it, but like it does make it really hard to do what I'm doing right now. There's a lot of drawing involved, a lot of editing and collaging and all this other stuff for this video. And the wrist being as it is, which is, it's not constantly in pain, but it's a very uncomfortable feeling. Sometimes like it's burning and bleeding. Well, it's like it's melting and burning at the same time, but in a very strange sensation. It's like a very dull pain. But it makes it really hard to do stuff. So I've been going a lot slower because of that, and I've been just trying to deal with it. Drawn a couple things today. There's still more to sort. There's a bar scene I'm currently working on. I've got some old assets which I'm trying to reflip for them and adjust accordingly. But yeah, just trying to make my way through it basically. There's a lot of stuff for this video. A lot of it is me making stuff as well. And me figuring out like when am I going to be on camera. Because looking at it, the way this video is going to be, I don't actually think it would be physically possible for me to finish this video without a camera. Just because there's so much like random shit I'm saying, and I'm like, what would I even fill that with? So it's good to be, I guess, presenter on the camera. Hopefully my lighting will be nice, and I'll sit down and I'll tell parts of the story where I don't think I can like convey it visually without breaking my wrist again. So yeah, I see people say about the audio is just good, and Kagamine, is it? Kagamine? Yeah, my wrist has been fucked for about a year now. Since the Satoshi Kon video, I did a lot of damage to it back then. Back then I was just really working very hard, and I was writing my scripts by hand, I was editing, and I was animating it all at the same time, and I did some damage to it. Repetitive strain among some other stuff I was doing, and I didn't take a break. I didn't like wait it out, so I just had to work through. Well, I had a deadline in mind, and I just worked through the pain for the extra couple of week and a half or so. Very bad decision. I'd never injured my wrist before. It'd been pretty strong my whole life, so like I didn't really think it was possible to do something like this to it until it happens. And yeah, it's not been good since, really. Thanks, Ed. Yeah, there's not really much I can do about it. Talking to the doctors is like the issue is of course as well that like when it happened was just like COVID season as well. So like it hasn't even been like viable to talk to a doctor for the longest time. Not in a way where like it'd be good. I talked to one on the phone twice. I've talked to a doctor on the phone twice because there was a time when I thought it was slowly getting better, and then it kind of relapsed a bit. And since then, like it's just been like, while it's not in a constant pain anymore, it does make it very hard to do my job at times. And after the last project, I had to take it easy for a couple of weeks, and like yeah, it was just a real frustrating time for my wrist that period. Even though I was trying to avoid doing as much as I could with it, just like even turning pages of a book really was not good. Sorry, where were we? But yeah, I guess today we're doing okay. We're doing alright. Just getting through the day. It's actually quite nice here. It seems like I haven't been out since the heat wave hit a while ago. I haven't been back outside much. It was literally too hot for me outside for a while. I couldn't function, so I need to get back to sort of doing more exercise, I guess, just to sort of keep me steady. But yeah, it's been a lot of work to do. Yeah, but yeah, I'll do what I can, everyone. Sed's asking me, will there be a following update to your watching Legend of Galactic Heroes video? Probably not. I remember, what was it? I watched the Madhouse animated movie, right? Back in, when was that, like 2 years ago? Yeah, I saw that. I liked it. I tried to watch the follow-up one. There's like a follow-up movie OVA, and maybe it was just bad timing, but yeah, I just wasn't really that into it at the time. I think I only got halfway through it and never finished watching it because I'm busy. Yeah, maybe one day I'll sit down and watch it all, but I don't know. It kind of feels with a video like, well, like with an anime like that, it kind of feels like I'd be watching it for the potential of making a video on it, which I'm not that overly interested in doing. It wasn't like when I make a video on Legend of the Galactic Heroes, it was like it went wild, and I didn't expect it to because it was just a random video on like the movie or whatever. But yeah, I don't really see myself doing it. I don't have the mental plan in my head where I'm like, oh, okay, maybe that could work. I don't know. Never say never, but like, yeah, I don't see it happening. Um, is that sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the name. Is it Selic? Salic? You're asking me. You saw the What's the Plastic Love video? Yeah. I really did enjoy making that Plastic Love video. That was a different time. I never really expected that one to be as giant as it was because I didn't think it would be more popular than the Rio Fukui video that I made beforehand. But I happened to hit it just as I assumed the wave was stopping because like Plastic Love seemed to have had it sharp up and it looked like it was just dying out as I was finishing the video. But I was wrong. It continued going and just got even bigger and bigger. So usually that video, I don't know if that video does a huge amount of traction these days, but it got like a lot at once, really fast. And yeah, I appreciate that it did because I really like talking about City Pop and I had a nice time making the video, I guess. I like doing. I did some animation in that video too. Before I fucked my wrist. Although I think I learned the lesson back then to be like, okay, well after I do like a long period of I think I left the animation to the end, but the animation I did, I remember having to be like, okay, I probably need to rest my wrist a couple of days after. But those videos were quite short in comparison to some of the stuff I do now. So yeah, there is that. But yeah, I'm glad that you kept watching afterwards. I appreciate that. Maybe in the future we'll talk about music again, but it's very hit and miss. Japanese music doesn't quite have as a consistent following as the anime industry, obviously. If I ever talked about music again, though, it would have to be something that I'm very interested in doing a video on. Probably would be Yellow Magic Orchestra. I think doing a video on them, like a documentary, would be really cool. Chelek? English phonetics is so fucked. I'm sorry. I haven't got a clue. We pronounce it every which way. Chelek. That's as good as I get. But yeah, we're just taking a rest then. This is what we do. Every Sunday I tend to do a little stream like this around this time to usually I just sit down and chat to people, give them some updates, and do the thing. Sometimes I draw. Today, because of my wrist, I think it's best that I take these couple hours to like rest my wrist and just take it easy for a second. That's the plan. Are they making Molov? And how do you even say it? Is it Mulov? Mavlov? It's the old video games, aren't they? Visual novel video game things. So I hope the adaptation goes well, I guess. And yeah, Greg, I've seen Ashton and Nojo. I nailed the pronunciation, but with Chelek? I said it like 7 different ways, and one of them has to be right. Angus, let's see. Yeah, the Passion anime. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of animation for obvious reasons. I mean, I dabble in animation, as you can see with the videos. Though I was more of like an avant-garde sort of guy. I wasn't like a traditional golden age kind of animator. I was more interested in sort of like loose, sketchy stuff. rough around the red edges, like rotoscoping. That was more my forte. Rotoscope, collage. Those were the areas I was interested in. Like my background's illustration. Like I did a BA in illustration, and yeah, that's kind of where I came from. Though I did a lot of research during those projects, and that kind of builds into what I do now, I guess, to some way. Do I have any stand on non-anime animation? Angus, I have talked about normal animation a couple times. It's just, like I try to keep the channel like focused, just because YouTube prefers that, from what I can tell. Unless you're too big to fail. I guess if you're like really big, you can sometimes like crack through those things and just talk about whatever the fuck you want. And then you might be more successful doing that than what you originally talked about. Maybe we'll get to that one day. I like to break through. I actually recently, I've been thinking after I finish this Nausicaa video, I might do a smaller video, a quicker, smaller video on Fantastic Planet, just because I have two versions of it, and I think there's a story to tell there, and I really do like Fantastic Planet. It's been a while since I've actually watched it in full, but I remember the first time I watched it just being completely spellbound, and I can give it a stupid baity title. The stereotypical, like, is it the weirdest animation ever kind of shit, and then kind of be like, well, no, this is how this goes down, this is where it's from, this is what it's about, this is who made it, this is the person you don't get to hear about, here's the kind of stuff that his work usually takes on, here's what you should take from his work, or here's what his work's usually about, here's what he usually covers, and let's talk about all the cool stuff about it, and the atmosphere, the music. And go from there, I guess. It would just be kind of more like this is a cool one. Check this out, maybe, if you want to see some weird animation from the 70s. And I think the cat wants to leave. You want to go, cat? I think she wants to leave now. I'll open the door for her. Do you want to? No, do you not want to go? Okay, well, do as you may, cat. Do as you may. But yeah, I have talked about French animation in the past twice. We've talked about Time Masters from the same creator as Fantastic Planet, and we've also talked about. Is it more than once or twice? Maybe 3 times. I talked about a French film called King and the Mockingbird, and there is a third film I'd like to talk about, which is unrelated one day. It's kind of like a trilogy, because I've been talking about these films that take a long time to finish. I guess it's almost like a series now. So, like, the French one was King of the Mockingbird. That was, it started in the 50s. They released a version of it. The creator got the rights back and finished it in 1980. Then we've got, like, Thief and the Cobbler, which was, I think, like 30 years of technical production, but it's in and out, in and out. So, like, the major animation that you see on the screen was probably the last 5 years or whatever it would be. Whether Roger Rabbit ended, so that's what, 88 till like 92ish. But like there was some roughs from before then, and other stuff was packed up. There's a film, I think it's called The Overcoat. I don't even know if it's been finished. They recently made a documentary about it, actually. So if it ever gets released, I'd probably be looking into it. It's from Yuri Norenstein, who is a pretty beloved Russian animator. Very cool. I like a lot of his work. I'd like to see his final. I don't know if it'll be his final. I guess statistically it might be his final film, final big film at least. He's been working on it for like the longest any animated film has ever been worked on. So I think that could be an interesting one. So yeah, those two specifically. Sometimes I dabble. The reason I don't go too far into it usually is because I'm not as like well versed. Even though I like my animation and I look around, I'm not really as well versed in like world animation, like the history, the context. So like I like to pick my subjects carefully, because like talking about anime, like there's a wider scope that I can see because of all the stuff I've done in the past. Looking into it, like I have a better context to talk about it, which I would just not have if I'm talking about Hungarian animation. Yeah, Tatsuya Master is pretty cool as City Pop goes. Yeah, I like the con video, though it did fuck my wrist. The PS play. Actually, I do have a story about the PlayStation 1 jingle. So I know I think that's probably a joke question, but when I was younger, I got a PS1 when I was like 7. I remember hearing the PlayStation sound. This is probably an old CRT, right? And it would be very loud coming from my television, and it just made me feel anxious. Like it put like my stomach like dropped every time I heard it. I'd actually try and avoid hearing it when I was younger. Like I don't know, there was something about that sound that really hit me, and I was like, oh, whoa, that's a bit much. Maybe it was too overload sensory. I have no idea what it did to me, but like whenever I'd hear that like PS1 sound, it would just be like, whew. I remember the PS2 sound was like when I was like, oh, okay, that's much nicer on me. That's much easier on the ears. I don't know what it was because I don't hate nowadays. It's like it doesn't really bother me at all. Like I think the sound it's a pretty cool sound. You know, it's kind of unearthly in its own way. But yeah, I don't know. When I was younger, it was just like, whew, hit me something different. Greg, I made a video called City Pop Recommendations once. Maybe you should check that out because I don't like check up on City Pop on like a continuous basis. So I'm not really, I don't even know why I'm the City Pop guy because there are people in the community who know far more about City. Sort of dabbled. Like I'm not like a master of City Pop by any sense. Most of the things I'll give to people are very boring answers. But yeah, my like intro to City Pop video is probably the easiest, just because like I give at least 4 records I liked at the time, and I give it like a selection at the end. I just name a bunch of records that are pretty popular, and then I let the comments suggest like a 5th entry. I think it was Anri Summertime or something like that. That got the win in the end. Wait, what the fuck happened? Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh my fucking god, what have you done? Oh, shit. It's not receiving anything. Fuck's sake. What can I do? You gonna come back? Are we getting anything? Alright, that looks like it's working again. Are we back? Are we back? Alright, if you can hear me, tell me in the chat. Alright, am I back? Can people hear me? I don't know what happened there. I think my internet just cut out, or something fucked just happened out of nowhere. I've never had that happen to me before, so I'm very annoyed about it. But yeah, I guess my internet just cut out and then OBS shit itself. Alright, sorry about that. I hope it wasn't too long I was out for. Um... Alex, you might want to check the fan subs and see if there's any like full translations of the Galaxy Express manga. There might be. Like I said, I did that Sherlock Hound video ages ago. Funny enough, like Sherlock Hound, for being a British sort of thing, it never, as far as I know, it never played over here in England. I'd only heard about it in passing through my original research and the first Miyazaki video I did. And it's kind of come up again on my latest video because Nausicaa and Sherlock Hound they sort of intertwine a bit. So like I'm kind of mentioning it in passing, but I think most of the information will still be in my Hound video. But yeah, like that sort of timeline sounds nightmarish. Like he was working on Sherlock Hound all day, and then he'd come home and he'd draw the manga all night. That is not a regular person's schedule. I'll say that much. Joe. Alright, Greg, I think it's going to be a complicated situation in terms of Joe. Some people might say, like, you should stop watching Joe 1 after a certain point because of the intersection. You can do it that way, although the way Joe 1 tells the final bit of the story is a lot different. And there are aspects of what Joe 1 do that I actually prefer over what Joe 2 does, including how Joe 1 deals with Joe's, like, I guess you could say his PTSD, his ability not to get back in the ring. They deal with it very differently, in a way which to me feels like it has a lot more weight to the situation he was stuck in. They sort of rush through it in Ashita no Joe 2 because it's closer to what happened in the manga. Like a lot of the changes with Dasaki, it was like this Dasaki arc where he goes to become like a wandering boxer for a bit, and I think it does that like Joe just can't box anymore, like professionally. I do like that aspect of it, although yeah, it is a little bit up and down. Oh my fucking god, it's not received. What the fuck? What's doing it? Alright, sorry, we might have cut out there. Alright. Let's see. Alright, the levels on my side seem good. Jesus fucking Christ, what's going on? Alright, can you hear me again? Sorry about that. I checked my internet connection downstairs and it's fine. It's in blue. It looks fine. Let me just double check some stuff. I don't know what's doing this. Action record. Oh, maybe it's fucking Windows Defender. Sorry, 1 second. Apps and browser control. You can block potentially unwanted. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's happening here. Can't. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, all right. I thought it might be. I don't know if anyone knows anything about this. For whatever reason, okay, yeah, for whatever reason, my Bluetooth mouse one, several things here interfere with. Oh, you've got to be fucking kidding me. One. 2. Can people hear me? Oh my god, I don't know what's going on. I just updated OBS and hope that it might have changed it. I just changed operating systems, so that might be why this is doing this. I don't know, I don't think I've streamed since I changed operating systems, so this could be some weird shit, but I don't fucking know. If it does it again, I think I'm gonna have to just quit the stream. This is just ridiculous. I can't keep bouncing back and forth. So yeah, I guess we'll have to keep an eye out. Alright, can you see me? Can you hear me? Is the audio fine? Am I fine? Alright. Oh, so yeah, I saw Mr. Brooks. Hey man, are your are you friends or have you talked to the YouTuber Super Eyepatch Wolf or other YouTubers in general? I don't know Mr. Eyepatch Wolf personally, no. Although obviously he runs through circles of people that I know, so I know people who've talked to him in passing. I doubt I'll talk to him in the future though, just because we're like in very different places. Maybe one day, there might be a conversation to be had when I make an Akira video. That's something I need to discuss with him, personally, because of some of the stuff he's done in his videos in the past that aren't necessarily true. Let's put it that way. So, not is a bit. But yeah, we'll work it out. I don't, we'll probably chat. I'll see if he wants to chat, he can chat. If he doesn't, that's fair enough. But yeah, I mean, I know some YouTubers, but some of them are my friends, some of them are not. As it goes, like I don't know, I don't hang around with lots of famous people or whatever, or famous YouTubers on the reg. I hang out with my regular friends in real life. I do know some YouTube friends though, but that's just they're like online friends. All right, so yeah, I just updated my OBS, so hopefully that's fixed the issues. It's green on my side. I'm looking at and it should tell me if it starts cutting out. But as it stands right now, it's green, which it usually stays green the whole time. It's not like a connection issue. I think this is an issue maybe with the version I was using. Hopefully now it should be fine. Now I've updated and everything. Hopefully it should work fine. But we'll see. We'll see. I'll keep an eye on it. Sorry, where were we last? What were we even, like, I don't know what we were even talking about. I'm going to have to look back through the chat. Yeah, my cat is sitting down. She's sleeping now, my cat, by the way. It's fine. And, yeah, thank you, Cameron, about the Kamasi Washington. I met Kamasi Washington. He signed this shirt, but it washed out because it was ages ago. He's a nice guy. All right. So far, though, apparently my stream is fine, so I'm just keeping an eye out now. I'm really paranoid about the stream. But yeah, I just restarted, updated everything. Hopefully we're all right now. Yeah, I've never had issues with the internet service provider before in this situation, so I think it might just be the changing of operating systems, and but yeah, now I've updated. I'm not seeing an issue, but keep an eye out for everyone. Keep an eye out for me. Anyway, what were we even on about? I mean, Cameron, if you've got like over 1 million subscribers, you're famous in this sort of sphere. I don't know, like, what do you want to say? Like, for the sphere I'm in, that's pretty famous. Having 1 million subscribers, it's a pretty big deal. But I mean, it depends how we define fame, doesn't it? I'd say 1 million of anything is quite a lot. What tips would I give to someone wanting to create video essays? Don't. That's not helpful. That's not helpful. Just do it. Literally, just do it. You'll learn by doing. Like you'll learn the nuances by doing it. Hopefully, you've done some video editing beforehand. It's just like regular editing. You got to cut your clips and make sure they flow. Cut to the audio. That's probably what I'd say. If you're doing a video essay, whatever you want to call it, like, you got to follow the track. You got to follow what you're saying. That's what you're doing. Like, the clips don't follow your voice. You follow the clips. Yeah, the clips don't come first. The voice comes first. So you should follow your voice, and then you'll figure out where the cut should be from that. And Somni, unfortunately, we've had some technical issues. I think hopefully they've gone now. We might be talking about Otomo in the future, but I'd probably wait until that new Akira movie series thing he's doing is closer to happening and his new movie thing is coming out. That's probably when I'd wait for. That's more opportune from my perspective. But yeah, maybe one day we'll talk about it. I just don't know when exactly, but maybe next year. I don't know. There would be 2 videos though. I have 2 Otomo videos planned, but they're back to back, so it's like a double feature because they're about 2 different things. How's it going, Paul? I'm glad you're liking the videos and you keep watching them. Thank you very much for your support. And Banny, a rule of thumb, if there's not a single source cited in a video essay, I don't take much serious in the video. Yeah, it's, you know, it depends what you're citing as well, I guess, because if the whole thing's just like a review, then like you probably don't need to cite too much. If you were just like, well, I think this about this, I like this cinematography like that, etc., etc. But yeah, if you're trying to say some stuff, and if you say some like, if you're making a point that's just quite like important or contentious, or you know, say for example, you're like, well, this person thinks this is the death of all animation or whatever, and it's like, holy fuck, that's a pretty big statement. Like, where did he say that? Where's that from? Where did you hear that from? And if it was just like, I heard this on the interweb, it's like, oh, fuck off. I heard it in a dream, you know? It's like, come on. Like, yeah, you got to be responsible with your sourcing. That's how I would personally take it. If you want to take things seriously, right? Ideally, you want to know where your information is coming from, especially when it's like contentious information or stuff which could be like taken the wrong way. Thank you, Paul. Unfortunately, Paul, the new ARMS video, the reason I started the stream originally was to tell people that the new ARMS video has been age restricted for everyone, and I can't stop it. I tried to appeal it. I had a terrible case, though, because I know what's in that video, and yeah, they age restricted it, and there's probably no getting it back from age restriction, which means that 80% of its general viewers from like recommendations are gone. Gonzo. They're just done. Done for good. So there is no it's unfortunate, but you know, it got a lot more views than I ever expected it to, and a lot of people were very passionate about it, so that's all I can really ask for, and it's still gonna get views, just a lot less. So what can I do? It almost hit 100k already, so like, you know, it's done pretty well. I can't really ask for much more. Have I watched Akira recently, given the Olympics coincidence? I don't think it's a coincidence whatsoever. I think Japan just rallied to get that number because of cool Japan factor. I think there's no coincidence whatsoever. Japan wanted that. They wanted the date. They grabbed the date. That's just how it went. I don't know. Fame seems kind of cringe, if I'm honest. I don't know if I could ever say it's underrated. I don't know. Being famous in any way, well, maybe that's just my personal preference, but I'd prefer to never have to deal with fame as a situation. Although, like, I don't really have to on my day-to-day basis. Maybe if I went to like a convention, I might get a couple people, but like, yeah, if I became 10, 20 times the size of this channel currently, like, it might become an issue. And yeah, I'm not a very good person to deal with that sort of stuff, I don't think, personally. I like to be left alone. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you got if someone tells you some like weird, crazy shit, you probably should always take it with a grain of salt. I think some people just take whatever someone might say in a video as just like, well, you know, I like this creator, so I'll take what they say at 100%. And like, I think it's easier to do that sometimes. You know, we all like watch something and don't really think about like, but where's this coming from? Because it's just like your brain would explode if you have to like be that meticulous for every fucking thing someone says. You know, if your friend was like, "Oh, I went to a walk yesterday," and you're like, "Well, when? What time? Where did you go?" Like, it's like, yeah, you gotta, you know, we've all gotta like give and take a little bit when it comes to some stuff like that. But yeah, I'm more critical, I suppose, in the field I have to be in. So I'm always very like, Sometimes it's annoying as well when you're doing research, because I'll hear people say stuff and I'm like, where the fuck did you get that from? And it won't be easy to find it, so I have to do like a conspiracy theorist Charlie Day running around like trying to find out where the fuck they heard this thing from. Where's this from? Where did you hear about this newspaper? Why is this magazine supposedly run by the Japanese Communist Party? Where did you hear this? Where's it from? Where did you get this information from? Yeah, you know, I had that one recently. Anyway, sorry, where were we? I think I'm a little bit behind. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the Akira TV show. I mean, realistically, guys, I'm going to be honest here with the Akira TV show. I have a feeling it's probably just going to be CGI, right? I have a very strong feeling that they're going to be doing a CGI show. I don't think that I literally don't believe that the anime industry has enough people in it right now to work on something as intense as Akira for a television show. I just don't think that's happening. I don't know where they're finding that talent unless it's international. I genuinely believe that it will probably have to be a. I just don't. Yeah, I don't believe unless stated otherwise, because I guess it's possible. Maybe Sunrise or someone's got some staff hiding somewhere, but I just have a really hard time believing that this Akira level scaled thing for a Netflix who have giant budgets for their shows can possibly exist in an industry which has no animators spare. I just, yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time believing it. Cameron, all right. The thing about Wikipedia, all right. Wikipedia is already beyond any YouTube video because Wikipedia sources basically everything it says. You do not listen to Wikipedia for information, you listen to the sources that Wikipedia takes from. So what you do, and Wikipedia is a great place to start for every project because Wikipedia has the whole world of people finding sources from everywhere, trying to pinpoint it down to like the specific stuff. If Wikipedia says something and it's not cited, you can ignore it. But if Wikipedia says something, you're like, wait, where did that come from? And you click the source and you find a book, and then you buy that book and you find that source and you find a bunch of other stuff with it. That is researching. Wikipedia is a useful thing, just do not source as in Wikipedia. Wikipedia is not a source. Everything that Wikipedia has in it is the source. So, you check the citation. You always check, you follow the citation. And you can then tell if the information they've got is shit or bunk or bullshit. And then, or like if it's from a questionable source or if it's from somewhere that maybe you want to check out. That's what you do. What college? I mean, I'm not going to tell you what college I went to. Jesus fucking Christ. I went to a university in Bristol for like illustration. There's only one that does it. Yeah, it does feel like I'm Charlie Day sometimes when I'm talking about things. Sorry, where were we? Uh, famous kind of cringe, to be honest. Yeah, there you go. That's the quote for Stephen. There you go. Yeah, I mean, Tomo might have done the math. I think also that, like I said, the Cool Japan project, after Akira became the best-selling grossing film in Japan's history during the late 80s, and it sold like an unprecedented amount of like physical media during that period, and is still one of the more higher grossing films before like the late 90s. I think they took that into consideration. It was like, no, that's our year. That's our Cool Japan point. I think there was very much an intentional like thing. It's also very closely connected to like the 1964 Olympics, so I feel they had that one on their eye. Um, yeah, I think it's just different expectations. I mean, Black Lotus, that like Blade Runner one from the Ghost in the Shell people, it'll be whatever it'll be. Like the people who like the CGI Ghost in the Shell show will probably like it just fine. I'm guessing. Maybe the writing will be cool and good and all that. It looks alright to me. I think it looks a little bit more so, though. I guess it's really what you're going for. Usually the CGI animators in Japan aren't quite up to the like level of some other places still. To make Akira work, I will probably say it's CGI. I just don't know if I've seen any studio that has quite the capabilities of really making that like work yet on a TV show. But I guess it's going to be a highly budgeted TV show because of a highly resourced TV show, I should say, because of Netflix. But I don't know. It's really hard to say what's going to happen. It could be. it'll be interesting, I guess, because Atomo has like dabbled in CGI recently. If it's not CGI, I think half of it will be. Like I imagine all the like mechanical objects will probably end up being CGI or something. That would probably have to be the compromise, just because I just don't think there are the staff who do that kind of work in the industry that like could do it at the scale they'd need it to make Akira is very long. Like, there are 1,000 page like whatever volumes of it. It's ridiculously weighty. Like if they're gonna adapt all of it, and I don't know if they're gonna do it all at once or how long the series is gonna be, it's gonna be difficult. And yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. Maribel, I've seen a little bit of BoJack Horseman. I think it's a little bit too dour for me to, quite frankly. Yeah, I imagine like it seems like Atoma would go that direction. Um, I feel like that's going to make some people unhappy, but they'll probably still watch it anyway. So what are you going to do? Hopefully, it just works out. Are there any editors who work you admire, whether it be in film or animation? Um, well, there isn't really editors who work in animation per se. Usually an animated film is edited before it even starts being drawn. Like you're supposed to know everything you're gonna do because of how an animation project works. You need to have everything planned out. You don't make like changes on the fly. So editing isn't quite the same thing in animation. There isn't like a though like in film, probably yeah. Well, like George Lucas's ex-wife. What's her name? Is it Miranda or something? Like his original first wife, who like she was the editor on Taxi Driver, and she also retooled together the original Star Wars film. She edited some bits and pieces in the other ones. Oscar-winning editor. She was really good. Really good editor there. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones, because there used to be a lot of like there used to be like these in the 80s there were like specific women that came around, and they'd like save films that were like they were falling apart, and they'd come in and they'd save it. Like I think there was a lady for like Jaws, and there's the things I'm not very good at remembering any editors' names off the top of my head. They're a less thought about process, I guess, less appreciated than maybe they should be process for a lot of this stuff. I remember hearing Soderbergh made a show. Was it called Nick? And he apparently he did all the cinematography and editing on it, and he directed it. And I thought that was like really interesting to have those three present positions as the like TV showrunner. That's pretty intense. Like it's a really groundwork kind of position. So I can respect that. But yeah, I'm not very good at telling you editors off the top of my head, because it's been a while since I've looked into them. Because I don't really see myself as like a fanciful editor. I edit to the point where I'm like, that's good enough. Yeah, that's how I feel about editing. And I usually think more about the sections of video I'm worried more about. Usually like the stuff I do with like compositing and art and collage and animation. That's the stuff I'm more concerned about. Yeah, than I am like necessarily editing. Cameron, why does Japan not have animators to spare? There's too many projects happening. That's really the simple of it. There are too many projects happening in Japan to keep up with the amount of animators there are. That's why you see continuously more people being freelanced and outsourced from other places in the world, and why some places, especially like Mappa, who are gagging to just like DM any animator they see on Twitter who's relatively okay. As soon as they see them one, they're just in their DM straight away, like, "Oh, come on, work for Mappa, bro, work for Mappa. Come on, we'll get you doing some really shit tier work. We'll get you doing some cleanup. Come on, bro." But yeah, like the issue is also about when we're talking about projects like this, like Akira or like a film production, right? You need film level animators. You can't get away with just having like someone who's good enough. You need people who are like you know, legit, like film level animators, people who've been in the industry for a long time or are very talented. And those people, well, how would I put this? The best animators tend to be struggled for because they are like in short demand. Oh, someone is messaging me. I'll worry about that later. Wait, is that Billy? I'm gonna double check if it's Billy. Oh no. It's not Billy, don't worry about it. Alright, what was I saying? So, yeah, the best animators in the business are at short supply, and honestly, getting paid is not exactly the anime industry's best forte. So some of those best animators tend to go somewhere else to get paid. If it be commercials, music videos, video games, they get money from somewhere that actually will give them money. You know, most people in the anime industry aren't there to make cash. The people at the top, like top animators, will do pretty alright, but like they will be like sought after, and then studios will try and hoard them. So that's the issue. That it not only is there not enough people, there isn't enough people at the higher levels. And the last couple of years since Your Name really broke the bubble for like theatrical animation in Japan, and that there's been so much more since. And since they've been really struggling to find animators on that level. There was an interview for Oko's Inn where the director basically said, yeah, we just had to teach people. Like, they literally didn't have the animators, so they had to like pick up all these women animators because none of the guys wanted to animate the show about the 10-year-old girl running an inn. So they just picked up a lot of younger like female animators and were like, all right, we just need to get them up to speed, and they just had to teach them really quickly how to like be at like the level they needed them at, and then do a lot of corrections, I'm guessing. Real struggle and stuff. Saying, why has anime attracted so many right-wing YouTubers? Well, it's complicated. Is it the idealization of Japan being anti-woke? Alright. Honestly, it is a lot of Orientalism. Saying, I actually saw something earlier and I was laughing about it, where like, yeah, a lot of it comes from... Honestly, a lot... Alright, let's start with the key point. Anime is really popular everywhere, and reactionaries just seem to like it too, but they sometimes attach stuff to it which which isn't correct, but they'll use it... Alright. It's so complicated to get... Alright. Anime is already popular, reactionaries already like it because people along the whole spectrum of political identities, whatever the fuck you want to say, like they you know, they all like anime in some way, unless, you know, maybe they think it's cringe or whatever, I don't know. That's their right. But like, yeah, people from all over the place like anime, and reactionaries like to use anime as a way to fight against social justice warrior cartoons. It seems they like to use it as a contrast point because, you know, they don't know this, because they know nothing about Japanese culture, but they like to orientalize the idea that Japan is like, in their brain, I guess, is like this ultimately hive mind, super racist, sexist place. That they inspire it to be. They create this like weird oriental nightmare in their brain of what Japan is, and they throw that onto these shows that are made without understanding that the biggest animator in the fucking industry of anime, right, Miyazaki, if we want to go there, the guy who has the longest running reputation in that industry, used to be a Marxist. And then like, also Takahata, also incredibly left-wing, may also have been a Marxist. He doesn't really define it a lot, but Pong Poko, definitely about like left-wing politics in the 70s. And then you've got Oshii. Oshii is also definitely a left-wing kind of guy. Like, I've seen his films enough, I know how that goes. Like, some of these big boys at the top, they're all very like left-leaning individuals. Some of them might not be, but their idea of anime and the reality are two different things. I think a lot of it is just a form of Orientalism that they can use to try and own the social justice warriors or whatever, as they dress up in a kimono and bring out a samurai sword and make me cringe till I fucking die. Honestly, Nicholas, I don't know if it'll be a cash grab, because like I don't think Otomo would do a cash grab. If he wanted to do one, he would have done one 20 years ago. But like it's gonna. I feel that like Otomo did the Akira TV show as a compromise to get his new movie funded. I have a feeling that because I think they're both at Sunrise, so I have a feeling that the Akira show is like a compromise for him to make more projects after Steam Boy did so horrifically poorly. He was basically annexed from doing anime movies, it seems. Banny, honestly, I wouldn't take Hosoda's perspective on CGI incredibly like poignantly, just because he outsources all his CGI work. But he has been working with CGI artists for a long time. If the whole industry will be CGI or not, I have no fucking clue. I doubt it, just because there are so many animators, and that's like the style. But like, it will obviously, I think CGI will become a more mainstay in the landscape because again, there just isn't enough animators that do stuff the other way around. So like, realistically, it will probably be good for those animators if there's more CGI stuff happening, because it means there's more room to comfortably get enough animators to do projects who are 2D. I feel like if every show starts with the conceit that it has to be 2D when it doesn't, we're going to have problems. Like, if the industry split and it was more like 40-60, and it was like 40% CGI shows and 60% animated shows, it may actually help it in the end. Sorry, I've lost my place in the chat because there's too much going on. I guess I'm too popular today. Sorry, guys. I mean, Smug, I'm going to tell you this now, Smug. Akira, the TV show, probably will be CGI. Don't get your hopes up and expect it to be 2D. I just don't think it's realistic to think that in the industry. I don't think it's going to be that way. Just because of Akira's style is so, like, I'm sorry, Otomo's style is so articulate, and Akira as a manga is so articulate, I just don't think it's, like, viable. Is it Jay Burnett? I appreciate that you like the channel. Yeah, I'm glad you like the channel, and I appreciate that you like the... Well, yeah, it does take a lot of, I guess rigor would be the word, to make everything work, eventually. Yeah, I think it's important to say I don't necessarily have an issue with CGI animation. I think Akira could work in CGI. I just don't know if they have the right animators to make it work, but who knows? Maybe maybe it'll blow me the fuck away. They'll turn it into like Spider-Verse or something. I don't necessarily think CGI work is bad. I just feel that a lot of the times they're just not quite there yet. Yeah, I just don't think necessarily. Yeah, and there's stuff that certain animators do in CGI in the anime industry I just really don't like, which is like sometimes it's like the really poorly paced frame interpolation makes me feel sick, makes me feel really uncomfortable. So I really don't like that, though. Like, frame interpolation is obviously still an important part of it, and you can do it correct and it'll be fine. Like, there's a lot of frame interpolation in Spider-Verse, for example, but that didn't really bother me at all. But yeah, if you do it wrong, especially if you do it with like locked to a camera, apparently, that can, yeah, it can make you feel really jerky and uncomfortable. Do I know about the history of the animation segment in Kill Bill? Yeah, I think I've talked about it in other videos. I think it's Nakasawa, Production IG. I swear I've already told this story in another video. But yeah, apparently Quentin liked anime, and he wanted to have a cool sequence in it, and he had it all planned out. And one of I think it was the writer producer of Redline linked up Quentin with people at like Was it Production IG that did it? I think it was Production IG. And they got some people together and they did the little project, and I'm pretty sure Nakasawa directed it. And then he went on to do like animatrix stuff afterwards. Oh, Marcia Lucas is the person I'm thinking of. Yeah, Marcia. Yeah, she's really good. Or she was really good. I don't think she's in the industry anymore. Excellent anime, like excellent editor, absolutely amazing. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, look, the CGI cars and Initial D look great. I don't think I've got an issue with them. They look cool. And yeah, the CGI in Gits 2, Ghost in the Shell 2, is really well composited in the scene. I think the compositing and Ghost in the Shell 2 is so good. Catra, sorry, I'm a bit behind here. How many times do I go over and rewrite scripts? I'm always picking at scripts, so I can't really. I don't. Unfortunately, I'm a terrible person to ask about this because I don't write scripts well. But yeah, I tend to just pick at a script until I'm happy with it. So I don't know what many rewrites that is. I just have to pick at it and pick at it until it makes sense to me. And it will be different between the show. Yeah, the Nick, that's the one. Yeah, Animated Documentary Project did say that 90% of new animators quit the industry after 3 years. A lot of that tends to become with not only the overwork, but they just don't get paid. The people who end up staying in the industry are people who like already have some other form of income or like live with their parents usually. People who already are like stable in some way, like yeah, usually people who come from middle class families who have parents that will support them, like usually like hardcore otaku who only will have enough, only would like need enough money to buy a couple figures or something. That's usually the stereotype of who actually stays in the industry. And I guess some other people who try really hard and will not eat anything, besides like flour and water for 3 years at a time, and then maybe die. But yeah, there's the reason why it's incredibly hard to get into the industry. It's incredibly competitive. It really fucking destroys your body. Like speaking as someone who's done this to himself on a casual regime, I can't imagine what the fuckers who actually have to work like anime time deadlines due to their fucking body. If it be their elbow, tennis elbow, carpal tunnel, repetitive strain injury, tinnitus. Is it tinnitus? No, I don't. I think that's one in your ear, isn't it? They may do that to them. To be fair, listen to a lot of loud music. But yeah, any of those kind of injuries you can do, especially if anyone in freelance tends to like, you really do start fucking over your body. If you spend too long sitting down, you start fucking over your back. You start, if you eat poorly, you start fucking over your health. If you start getting too stressed, you start fucking over your heart. There's a lot of ways where you can really mess yourself up as an animator, especially, or in the field in general, especially if you don't take care of yourself. And it's sometimes hard to take care of yourself when you've got so much to do. 90s animes are actually quite well dubbed, Mr. Delvoy. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them that are actually dubbed. You can find it, even ones that were dubbed much later. But yeah, a fair few of them were. A lot of the people doing distribution back then thought it would be better to dub it than to not, just because they wanted to widen the audience as big as possible. Banny, if I'm not, there's a quote. So the conditions are so shit in the industry that people leave the industry even if they're getting really into it. It depends as well. Like different studios, there's obviously going to be different reputation. I've talked to people who animate, and like usually their experience will vary depending on the project to project. I hear Mappa is fucking awful, allegedly. Mappa, if you don't have a salary at Mappa, it's a fucking disaster. But some people, like obviously KyoAni gets a really good reputation. I've heard Bones is a quite nice place to work, but I could also be wrong there. But yeah, it seems Bones is nice. I've heard it's chill. Madhouse used to be a nice place to work once upon a time. I don't know if it still is, though I've heard the working on Sunny Boy has been very I don't know, the people working on Sunny Boy seem to have a really good time. I know at least one of them. What would my solution to the anime industry be with so many animators paid a livable wage without reducing quality? Nicholas, really, the bluntness of it, that's a fucking impossible question. Like, well, I get, less anime, paid better, with less anime. Alright, here's the blunt of it, right? You need less anime coming out, less frequently. People getting paid more to make less. 20 minutes? Do we really need 20 minutes? Like, I think the total of animation per episode should vary depending on the title. I don't think it should be that strict. It should be more malleable. You know, if that episode needed to be 10 minutes long, it can be 10 minutes long. If that episode needed to be 15, that's how it should really be going. And also, animators should have more stake in the company that they're working. They should be paid for their work in a more practical sense. Because most people do not... If an animation does incredibly well and you're an animator on it, you're getting jack and shit extra for it. So there's no, like, you know, there's no bonuses, there's no, like, royalties, there's no nothing. The whole industry, I don't know, I'm kind of in the position at this point that I don't think the industry is savable and that it would have to just all be thrown out. I mean, that's a horrible way of looking at it, but I just don't think they can save the anime industry as it stands. I think at some point it will collapse and then we'll have to pick up the pieces. I just don't think the system as it stands could ever be, like, fixed. I'm not a reformist. I don't think that's viable. Yeah, I mean, I think we've over-peaked now because I do believe we've started to lower shows again, but like there's still way too many shows. I mean, back in the 80s, they said there were too many shows coming out, and that's when they had like 40 a year. There are people being like, yeah, there's just too many shows coming out, and now it's just 10 times that. All right, so I'm way behind him still. I don't know where the fuck I'm at. God, where were we even at? Okay. Cameron, it seems like I'm way behind, but like, yeah, the right wing people talking about anime, I literally don't want to talk about who they are because I know who they are. I don't know, I saw a really cringy thumbnail today from someone. Usually it's just reactionaries, but there are like some really big figures who have been talking about it, and I don't want to get into it, quite frankly. I think it'd be a waste of time to bring out names, but like, yeah, like usual suspects, I guess. Yeah, I mean, also Michael in the chat. I'm not really a big fan of Disney, especially their practices. Um, Guancho? Guancho, I will talk about Nausicaa in the video I'm making. We'll talk about it then. I mean, Nicholas, I imagine that a lot of things in the Akira TV show will be CGI. The backgrounds would probably be one of the first things. I wonder. I mean, in an ideal world, I would love to see an Akira TV show using Blender, so they did a lot of mixing between the two worlds. If that be some sort of like loose, like drawing on top of CGI models as well to sort of create the sort of like weird, sketchy elements of them running around the city at super speeds. And I imagine a lot of the buildings will be CG, and I don't really think that's a bad thing as long as it's done well. I think it could work perfectly fine. I don't blame anyone not wanting to draw 1,000 buildings or lights or whatever, because there was already CGI in the original movie. It's just the small light trails usually. Catra. CGI has always been used to cut corners for time, so they kind of focus on animating things that are important. Halfway did a bunch of really good CGI recently, rotoscope light use. Yeah, I mean, it's not, well, it really depends. there are like complicated reasons why you'd go CG, and usually in like a, say for example, in a big in a bug budget, a big budget Hollywood film, you go CGI because it saves time for production in a lot of different ways. Because it means you don't have to do those things physically. A physical action scene in Hollywood takes like a weeks to shoot, and you have to prep it and like secure it. Like there's special, like if you do real stunts, it takes a lot more time, a lot more energy into a film, especially when it comes to like danger and there's a lot of different factors there. And also you can do CGI previs, so you can figure out how a camera will move and shoot and do all this other stuff. Usually CGI there is used to save time in production or to make things more efficiently run, allegedly. In anime, CGI tends to be used because, yeah, they don't have the animators to do it at that time. I don't know if it's necessarily faster per se. I guess in theory it can be. It's usually more expensive in anime because of you need to have a render farm making it work. Like instead of a piece of paper, you're going to need computers to actually render the images out, and sometimes rendering out a sequence can take a fucking age, like a long time. So yeah, there is that to it. Yeah, I mean, Cameron, I love the CGI in Ghost in the Shell 2. They had their own company come in. They had a Polygon come in and do it. I don't think they do very good TV shows, but they're compositing in that movie, though I think that has a lot to do with all the people working on it. They had great animators, great compositors, great like CGI connecting to that, which made it work really well. I mean, Greg, to be fair, like some people might say that like animation also becomes outdated over time because everything is in its own time period. I mean, CGI and animation and hand-drawn animation, in fact, or stop motion are all technically, if we want to get into it, they are a form of technology that we use in films. There's an artistry to them, but there's also an artistry to technology. There's an art to CGI. There's an art to rotoscoping. There's an art to... We use these techniques at specific times to create the specific things we can in the best way we can. Now, back in the day when they made Roger Rabbit, right? They couldn't do a CGI Roger Rabbit back in the day. So what they do, they do these hand-drawn characters and they put them in the world next to these people. Nowadays, fuck tons of films do that, just with like mocap and shit. They have like, stupid colorful characters like the Smurfs interacting with Garfield or whatever. Like this is so commonplace now. But back in the day, the only way you could really do that is by having a team of expert animators come in and draw them and make them connect to the world. Like Looney Tunes Back in Action. And I think with Space Jam 2, they reduced the amount of hand-drawn stuff and made it mainly CGI figures for most of the film, if I understand right, but I haven't watched it. But they probably tried to emulate them in 3D, and make it plot exclusively or whatever. But yeah, these technologies will always change and evolve. Though then again, like a good use of a technique will always stand. Like there are definitely people who probably watch, Gertrude. Is it Gertrude the dinosaur or something? Gertie the dinosaur, like one of those 1914 films. They look at it and they go, "That's dated." If it be the techniques used or the style, the look of it, or the camera that caught it, or just like there's a lot of factors in there which people could argue is dated. If you look at a silent animated film, I mean, perhaps the technique still holds up, right? But if I showed, I don't know, like Betty Boop to my 7-year-old nephew, is he going to be like, "This is black and white and dated, I don't want to watch this"? He might say that. I mean, he's like some of the old cartoons I've shown him, but like he's a little bit more picky nowadays, so I don't know. CGI, I mean, there's some CGI from old films that people still like to jerk off a little bit. If it be like the T-100, like was it the T-1000, the liquid guy, Jurassic Park, etc. The CGI in like trying to think of another one. There's like a fair few examples. Like when it's done well and it's composited well, it will stand up, even if the technology's gotten a little weaker. And in fact, it can still look great. Maybe like The Abyss. I mean, I think Thanos. When I remember watching, I didn't watch the second one, but I remember watching what's it called? Infinity War. I remember watching Infinity War in the cinema and being like, "Whoa, Thanos actually feels like he's next to these characters in a way which a lot of these other characters that they've fought in the prior films does not. Like he feels more like a real person, even though he's like a weird purple person in front of me. I was like, whoa, he feels very physically there in a way that, yeah, a lot of these other characters never did, like Ultron or whatever else, whatever evil CGI creature they fought. And I remember being very impressed by that. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the CGI. I think there's actually something to say about older CGI as well and how it feels, because it has a very specific feel. I was thinking about this while playing one of Suda51's older games, Silver Case. There's like if you don't turn on the new effects, there's like old CGI effects in the game, and they have a very specific aesthetic and feel to them. Say for example, like the CGI in the Ghost in the Shell PS1 video game. Very, yeah, they have a feeling and a style of their own, and that can kind of be its own thing. Because yeah, it will be compartmentalized on the time it was made. Like the early CGI in like Star Wars, like with the little pointers they use, the small pieces of CGI in, or maybe like War Game or something. You know, it's like weird early effects can in themselves sometimes have a charm to them. Maybe like what's that film I did in from 1984? Oh God, what was it? The one that was like a Star Wars ripoff from the like Madhouse in the 80s. I've actually forgotten the name for it now. But yeah, I think the CGI effects in that film were pretty interesting and cool for their own time, and I think they still work within the parameters of that movie. Pineapple Thief. Yeah, well, the thing about when we say will there be another director in the level of Satoshi Kon in terms of pushing the medium of anime to new heights, it really depends if you think Satoshi Kon pushed the anime industry to new heights. Uh, I think he had a very specific style, a very specific tone of creator. He made his films on a quick budget, and he did the best with what he had, which were really excellent animators. And you know, they did what they did. Some of those films are really great. You know, I think I have my favorites and all that, but I don't really think it's worth comparing old, well, you know, animators that have passed with new animators in the same way, because each of them are going to have their own different things. I don't think there's going to be a Satoshi Kon too, but there's always more directors and always more, you know, people with their own styles and tastes, what they bring to the industry. Cameron, if it depresses you that the entertainment industry takes advantage of hardworking artists, I understand the sentiment, but it's been happening since the dawn of time. The entertainment industry as it stands would not exist without taking the exploitation of its labor. It would not function, unfortunately. I don't think there is a possibility of it exist. You know, that's why I say I'm not going to hold a pity party for when they all fucking collapse. You know, if or when it happens, because everything has to come to an end at some point. I believe the animators will find their own way, and the people who work in the industry will hopefully find their own way. Though it will probably be shit for a time. Yeah, it's Kamasi Washington. Met the guy, got the shirt from him, he signed it. It was a cool dude. I saw him live, back in the day, like a couple years ago. Oh god, I lost everything. Too many chats. Sorry, everyone. Um. Oh yeah, Tuka. Yeah, I mean, Sunny Boy has Madhouse animators in it, so I imagine the people who may have animated some of Con's scenes are actually in that show. Maybe. Yeah, I think it's difficult. Working at home has its own benefits and pros and cons. ultimately, I think that the option to work at home should really be available for all sorts of people, because traveling, getting to work, and getting into a place to do stuff that you could just do at home, it's just wasting money. You know, I think there is like a benefit to like working somewhere else within your house, but you know, you could go to the local coffee shop or whatever instead of spending a ridiculous amount of time stuck in traffic or whatever it be, or you know, the fuel, the money, the travel, the exhaustion, the road works, the etc. You know, the limited amount of stuff you can function when you're so far away from, you know, your basic necessities of home. Yeah, jazz is cool. I do like jazz. Um, what, going back to the 26 episode format? I don't know what you mean by capture. Do you mean that you think they should have more episodes or less episodes? Because nowadays it's like a 13, you know, you do a 13 core, 13, 12 episode core. Usually that's what you start with. I mean, I don't even know what a viable is these days. I don't know. I think specific numbers are a bit weird. I don't know if that's necessarily the best way of doing it. I'd rather shows have like weird numbered episodes, because you know, I prefer shows to have like more strength or malleability of like how they can tell their story. I don't know, Cameron. I don't know necessarily if the figures and the merch are actually exclusively connected to more shows coming out 100%. It's really difficult to say, because those profits will go to different people, and it may not necessarily be the people producing anime as it is the people who own the licenses or whatever, or the company. You know, there's different people who benefit from certain areas. So yeah, it's more complicated than necessarily X and Y. A direct consumer market instead of, what do you mean by a direct consumer market? How is that going to function? Each studio would crowdfund projects of their own platform. No, 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 no. That's gonna not. That's fucking pie in the sky thinking. That's not how it works. I think we've seen enough Kickstarters to know that most studios aren't necessarily also great at doing production and, you know, holding the steadiness of a project going. There are some that can do it and function just fine with that in that model. And if they want to, you know, whatever studio, random studio, small studio, if they want to crowdfund an animation project, they can do that, and they can release it on YouTube or fucking Vimeo or wherever they want to put it, and they can figure out if that's like actually worth the money that it takes and time. They're welcome to try and do that, but like the idea of decentralizing media, it's just not going to function in this. It's not viable. The way the systems that we have created exist now, especially with the internet, you can't just like decentralize. You can't just put your fucking show on your website and hope someone finds it. You kind of need to put it somewhere where people will see it, and that's the difficult draw of it. How do you get people to watch your show in the first place? And that is the conceit of streaming services, right? Or the conceit of YouTube, or the conceit of a television studio, is getting it in front of somebody who might actually watch it and buy something. And that's not always very easy. But yeah, we saw the game industry try this stuff earlier at some point, and some people figured it out and got it going, and some people, well, a lot of them, 90% of them, did not, and they failed and stole people's money and ran off with it and completely failed to run a production. Well, my studies, I study illustration. I'm not like a historian major or anything. Making anime with game engines will happen eventually. Leonard, I think you're a little bit behind. It already is. The Unreal 4 engine is absolutely used. Oh, 100%. The Unreal 4 engine is definitely used in some productions as a way to previs stuff, because you can use it in real time. Hey, cat. But yeah, like video game engines like Unreal 4 and or even maybe 5 now, yeah, they absolutely are used in the process. And Blender is also used, and that's kind of, you could probably use, I think you can use Blender to make video games. I mean, Blender's just a CGI program. Well, the issue, Cameron, with like crowdfunding a show that is interesting enough is that you don't actually know what you're going to get in the end. That's always the issue with any crowdfunding, is that you're basically being pitched an idea. This is effectively what happens with producers, right? You're getting pitched an idea of a show, but not the actual product at the end. So like how it turns out in the end is anyone's game. All right, let's have a look. What else we on? I don't know if I'm. What's that? Cabafrisa? How would you even say that name? Cabeza? I am not. I think it's very naive to believe that like a mind-blowing like single technique will save an industry or whatever it would be. Because there's always very cool stuff happening, but I don't think that one thing can make the industry work when it's already rotten to its core. They will just become exploited, and then the expectations of the industry will get worse as things get faster. Say, for example, like if they found out a way to like do magically AI tweening, so like, you know, they only needed key animators, they just fire half the staff, and then, well, they just have, you know, they'd fire all in-betweeners, like all that export there, and they just expect to get more shows out faster. You know, there wouldn't be any benefit to the actual people having to do the work. They would just expect more. Forest Spirit says they avoided Berserk for 30 years. That's impressive. Forest Spirit, I would say that the 90s adaptation is probably the best you're going to get. I've only dabbled in the other two, but I think the 90s animation, while it has its problems and obviously limits for its time, I think it's, yeah, generally the best version of Berserk to be adapted. And also the soundtrack is so fucking good. And there are definitely moments within it which are, you know, they're so... When Berserk 98 be going, when it hits, it hits. I'm going to say that. Like, I love the color palettes. I love the backgrounds. I love a lot of the shots in it and the music. And I think the cast is pretty cool as well. It's a different kind of experience. Again, saying when people say hand-drawn animation has a timeless quality, you could argue that from a certain lens, but that's not going to be a universal perspective. There's going to be people who will represent hand-drawn animation by the era of which and how it's created. Like, if you look at Astro Boy, are you really going to look at... Alright, is someone from 2021 going to look at Astro Boy 1963 and go, that's timeless? It's fine. It's fine for its time. It was trying to do something that was really crazy. You know, kind of insane. I don't know why anyone would even try. But, you know, 7 frames a second, whatever it be. Trying to just take these manga panels and turn them into animation as quick as possible so they could fire out as many episodes as possible. But, like, I don't know if I'd say that as timeless. And again, with any generation of animation, like, they will be they will be defined by the generation and technology that is used with them. Like, you're going to get a lot of people who will say stuff like, wow, this 2000 animation looks really dated because, you know, it's like early web gen. They're like just transferring to stuff, very specific kind of designs. The mix between its digital elements, which are in 480p on old computers, and then like the backgrounds that's still usually hand painted, or like the mixture of them transitioning between there or behind there, are not going to be there. Same with, like, you know, if you look at something from the 70s, people look at how it's styled, how the style of its animation, the way it looks, the way it draws. Like, back in the 70s, they did a lot of Xerox, where they'd use really thick 8B pencils, and they'd sketch out the drawings, and they wouldn't do the inking. They just used the heavy pencils. and then they'd Xerox it, and so the blacks only came out, and they'd leave it like that. So it's like a lot of roughy, sketchy animation in the 70s. Same in Disney, actually. Disney used the same kind of techniques, but like it creates an effect. Same with things like in the 80s with backlit animation. Backlit animations are very specific techniques used at a very specific time of animation that creates a very specific effect, and it gives a very specific feel that you don't get in other generations as much. Animation will be dated by its generation by a lot of different factors. Now, if that's a good or bad thing, I guess it's really definitely to a preference thing. Like, but yeah, you will, it's. Have you tried to? Have you tried to get anime fans to watch something that came out before 1984? It's not easy. If it's so timeless, I don't know if I believe that. I think it's people getting hung up on stuff, and they always will. I mean, Forest Spirit, a good adaptation of anything is going to be up to someone's personal preference for like a lot of it, and any kind of good adaptation of anything is usually a miracle, so take that as you will. And rectangle with eyes, if you want to make a quick buck, you don't do it in the animation industry. That's the blunt of it. Oh my god, sane. Like, yeah, Tom and Jerry from the 40s is very dated in certain aspects, I can tell you that much, because I've watched it with my nephew plenty. I mean, if the animators do a good job, I mean, a lot of the time, but yeah, it's obviously a specific kind of style of animation and look and sort of action, and there's definitely stuff that happened in that show, but it's yeah. And even the songs that they play and stuff like that as well, but yeah. I mean, Tom and Jerry is a pretty good example of when you don't get one of the bad episodes. Well, when you don't get one of the episodes which is like, yeah, it can be really great, but like it's just a great show. No, things being great is, well, I mean, I guess that's a personal preference too, like what you think is great. Like, I mean, Duck Season, Rabbit Season, excellent piece of animation. Same with What's Opera Doc. These are great pieces. I'm not going to say every Looney Tunes cartoon holds to the same standard, but the ones that are good, they do hold real good. But you'll see a suspicious lack of black and white ones when people talk about this for just part racism, part people just don't like black and white shit a lot of the time, especially in their cartoons, which is a shame. God, where the fuck? I can't even keep up with this shit. Oh, shit. Well, my camera just died. I forgot to put the plug on it. Whoops. One second, I'll plug it in. God, in a second the camera's probably going to fuck you though. The audio even. Yeah, sorry, there's a lot going on here. I can't keep up. Alright, can people hear me? I've got the thing back on now. Is it okay? How's the audio? Yeah, we good? I don't know, my audio might go a bit funny in a second. Okay, yeah, the audio might go a bit fucky in a second, so I don't remember where we even were, so I'm gonna have to just skip a bunch of the chat. I'm sorry. Um, yeah, well, alright, where the fuck even are we? Alright, I'm gonna keep an eye on the bottom. Are the conditions in the manga industry as similar to the animation industry? Oh, you bet your ass they are. Jesus Christ, how do you think the, rest in peace? Berserk's Berserk's mangaka died in similar circumstances as many overworked people. Though the thing with the mangaka of Berserk, is it Miura? I think a lot of it. All right, this is the difficult thing, and this is the problem with industries like this. The kind of people that get to the top in a lot of these industries also have like really compulsive attitudes to creating, and like they're very driven, and you need to be, right, but like the industry will take advantage of their drivenness, and then like it becomes unhealthy. Realistically, what an industry should be doing is actually holding you back. Like if you want to work in a healthy environment, there should be limits to what you can do and what you can't do, because there's an implication, if not, that you have to always be working, especially when you have deadlines on, I mean, manga on a weekly basis. That's insane. In the States, it's like monthly. Like, yeah, to do like the amount of pages they need to do on like a weekly basis. I mean, some places don't. There are like monthly or bi-weekly. There's like a lot of different schedules, of course. But a weekly deadline for decades is not healthy. People like Toriyama and Oda, they sleep like 3 hours a night, if not less. In fact, Toriyama had this very particular thing that he described when talking about Jocko. Jocko was the last manga he ever created, and that was a good long while ago, right? He was in his 60s at the time, and he tried to use his old schedule from when he was a young man, which is something like 3 hours of sleep, consistently working every day for 6 months straight. He ruined his health. He said he destroyed it, and that he was like, fuck, I can't do this anymore. I'm too old. Like, I can't physically work in this structure. And this is the reason Toriyama doesn't make manga anymore. He physically can't do it in the ways that, like, he is used to doing it. Like, habits die hard. Like, he'd have to work in a healthier way, and learning how to work in a healthier way at the age 60 is not easy. I've been doing it this way my whole life, and now I'm having to change up my my ways. It's not easy to do that. Yeah, I mean Oda, yeah. I think Oda said like at one point he got less than 3 hours of sleep a night, but like could you imagine having 3 hours of sleep a night and then drawing all day for like 20 years? What that does to you? Of course, there are definitely, and there's a lot of different mangaka in the industry that have a lot of different schedules. There are some that work at like a lot like different paces, and some that have much more healthier regiments. Although like it seems like a lot of the times the healthiest regiments are going to come from people who are already like in a very good position because they can afford to be in a healthier regiment. Where like if you're like grinding, if you're on the fucking grind trying to get somewhere, you don't necessarily have the ability to afford a healthy regiment. And even so, like working a young mangaka's pace will destroy you. It's not healthy. You know, I can really relate with what Miura did, because Miura also spent like a lot of years trying to like heal from his situation. He went too hard, he did irrevocable damage, and then he spent a lot of time trying to work at a more leisurely pace, trying to like work within his health, and eventually, yeah, his health just it happened. Like the damage was done. Sometimes you can fuck yourself to the point where like you there's no coming back. Like, you know, with my wrist, like, I don't know. I'm hoping I don't have to take surgery, but I might have to. My wrist might be like this for the rest of my life. And that's from one stupid mistake. And, like, I'm working at a very different pace than these people are. Oh. Oh, thanks, Sir Ryan. Yeah. Hamashi Warrison, very cool. Very cool dude. Rimoko Takahashi, what the Lum lady, right? Yeah, she worked on Lum. I don't know what her schedule was like, if I'm honest. You'd have to ask her, but probably isn't great. Osamu Tezuka also worked a really bad schedule, it's true. And I have watched It's Such a Beautiful Day by Don Hertzog. Yeah, Tezuka got really ill I think it might have been cancer as well. I can't recall, but Tezuka got really ill and bedridden, and he was screaming. He was a workaholic to his staff. He didn't sleep like very much, and that didn't help. There are definitely some mangaka that live to be like 90, and they probably have much better schedules, or their bodies are made of steel. I can't tell. It'll be one of the two. But like I've heard about Miyazaki's schedule back in the day, and like I guess it's probably different now. But like his schedule when he was a young man is just so fucking insane. I can't even believe he's still alive. I think he just has like cockroach power. But like I said, like, you know, you spend all day working on Sherlock Holmes and anime, and you come back home at like 12 a.m., 11 p.m. at night, and you work until sunrise on your manga. And then you go to bed for 3 hours. Then you go back to work on Sherlock Holmes. Can you imagine doing 2 jobs? It's like doing a day shift and a night shift and then going back to your day shift the next day. It's just insane. Yeah, the anime XX killed me. That's what happened. All right, guys. Also, keep an eye on my audio. It might go fucky soon. Keep an eye on that. Miyazaki still looks tired as fuck. I mean, he probably is tired. Takashi's work schedule hasn't been a hiatus, but for over 2 years now. I have no idea, if I'm honest. I can't tell you about every different person's schedule. Brooks, the thing about Akira and Eye Patch Wolf, it's kind of complicated to get into. But there are, like, I don't really want to get into it right now because it is what it is. Like, it's not, there's no changing it at this point, but like, there's just stuff he said in that video which is wrong. It's just like factually wrong. Stuff like he doesn't understand how like frame interpolation works. He says that the whole film is on ones. No animated film has ever been made will be all on ones because you need to be able to interpolate the speed of the frames or everything's going to look really weird and wavy. Most time in the full animation era of Disney, we're talking 18 frames a second. That's usually where we're going. And Akira uses modulated frames, so it goes on all kinds of frame rates depending on what it needs from a scene. More frames is not better, so that's the first problem with the interpolation. Second one is how he defined the music in the film, where he used literally the wrong terminology to talk about the like where the music is from, what it is. And there's probably some more stuff, but it's been a while since I watched the video. I'd have to break it down more so closer to the date. But I think those two are kind of, especially with some of his wording, I think he put in his description about the music, because he definitely used the wrong words to describe it in terms of what part of the world it was from and where the influences were. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's very hard to find out. Like, you can just go on their website. You could probably email them too, because it's like a world band. I think they call it world music, but they do like a lot of different styles. A lot of it comes from different places. They even have like a playlist somewhere with all their influences on it. But those two are yeah, I don't know. When you make a video called How Akira Changes Everything, and it's the information you're giving people about how it changed everything isn't necessarily up to snuff, or I don't know, I will be making a video that has a very similar title and I'll go through it then. But those are two key factors off the top of my head. Jesus Christ. Universal? Working like that is not healthy, my dude. Eventually you're going to run out. You're going to have to slow down. I mean, eventually, yeah, you have to be careful about your health. It's the only thing you've got. Sama, absolutely not. Thief is not animated on ones. There are sequences that are. Alright, here is a quote from Richard Williams himself. Animating on ones or twos or threes is like asking someone if they use blue or red pencils. You use both. You use them for the specific thing they need to. I use ones for fast sequences, because when you move something too fast across the sequence or on the screen, If you do that on 2s or 3s, you get banding. You can see the like an after it. It looks awkward. So I use 1s for that. General motion, I use 2s. Richard Williams on Twitter for his sad passing, he told someone that. Simple. So yeah, maybe 18. It could be 18 frames. He's probably using full animation terms, but more animation frames is not better. You have to use the right amount of animation frames for the right job. The slower you want something to be, you usually use less frames. It makes it feel more struggled. If you want something to be fast, it is easier to do that on 1s, but you may not. Again, it can vary because it depends what kind of fast you want. You might remove movements to make it so fast you can barely see it. Have I considered talking about Royal Air Force? And we may talk about Royal Space Force in passing because of the Arno video I'm planning. Probably not Megazone 23 though. I don't know, it's kind of a weird one. We'll see. Yeah, burnout will come without notice, it's true. I don't know if Cameron, I don't actually know, did I cover the frame rate stuff in that video? Maybe I have. I don't remember what I said. It might be wrong. It was a couple years back, and I don't know. I don't think that video is as thorough as it should be. Maybe I don't know if I had the tweet back then. Did I? I have no idea. But like I've said it in other videos. Like Richard Williams understands that like yeah frame interpolation isn't. That's what we call it when we change the amount of frames you see on the screen. If that be 2 drawings every whatever 24 frames whatever, or 3 drawings or 1 drawing, that's called frame interpolation, and that's a key part of timing in animation, and you will fluctuate it as you breathe. It's like water. You will fluctuate it for it to feel the best for that sequence, for that music, for that tone, the tempo, the storyboard. You will figure out where the animation should be, where it's going, up and down, whatever. You figure it out. And most people, like, it takes time to be able to read what something is on. Like you need an eye for it to notice if like, oh, that's on 3s, that's on 4s, that's on, and sometimes I still find it quite difficult. I can kind of like look and be like, I can kind of eyeball it, but usually what I end up having to do is grabbing that thing and bring it into Photoshop and just seeing how many frames there are, just like counting the frames and figuring it out myself that way. Like that sometimes is the only way I can figure out how many frames a sequence is. It's just having to break it down, literally looking for all the frames. Yeah, Pineapple Thief, this is actually a really important thing because Satoshi Kon, right, he was working on a frame rate which was kind of insane. Sometimes, like, Perfect Blue had like 30,000 frames for 90 minutes. Now, if you average that out, if you got a calculator out and we're like, what's that average per, like, second? It's like 5 frames. So this man's got like 5, if on average, this man has a limit of 5 frames per unique second of animation, which means he has to do a lot of techniques to sort of work around that. If that be reusing frames or pans, zooms, or different techniques that you can use for like repeating animations or whatever that be, or stills with specific things going on. He's finding ways to cut around that and then using faster interpolation scenes for when they're needed. Ryan, I haven't watched Your Name. I wouldn't be able to tell you. I literally haven't watched it. Aim Kid. Oh, Aim Kid's a YouTuber? I don't know if I know them. Let me have a look. I mean, this looks cool and samey. 100 gex. Oh man, 100 gex animations. Yeah, these look cool. There's kind of like a magic to being an animator yourself as well, and figuring out little tricks and techniques to like, find ways of basically duping people, or figuring out how an animation, what's the nicest way to get this animation out where I draw the least. That sometimes the beauty of animation is figuring out how can I fucking dupe people. How can I be like, all right, I know back in the day there was sometimes certain animators would they'd like transform or squash a frame for like impacts. So like they'd have the animation come through and then they'd create like a squash frame, and then they'd tween the squash frames and stuff like that. So they didn't have to necessarily draw more frames, but they'd like manipulate frames for certain bits and pieces like that. Some people use like micro tweening as well and other little techniques. Like there's a lot of things you can do. I'm a big proponent of reusing stuff and collaging back and finding things. Especially if those motions come into play. But I'm not doing anything too fancy. I always enjoy it when I go on fucking the stupid tangents about animation. The thing is, I spent my time watching animation, looking into it and all that. I'm not saying I'm an expert in the field, mainly because, all right, how do I put this? When it comes to like the formations of how we talk about animation, a lot of the time, if you go to like animation university or whatever, like a lot of the stuff they use is like the Disney handbook. I don't believe in Disney's architecture. To be blunt, I don't believe in their supremacy, and I don't like a lot of the ways they do stuff. Yeah, and I mean, I've got the handbook. I've got fucking Richard Williams' handbook. I've had a look through it. I've scrambled through it. I have a look. There's some stuff in there that's useful to know if you want to know it, but that's not the kind of animation I want to do. So I like being messy. I like being scrappy. I like my animation being kind of weird and uncanny in some elements, and I like doing roto because of that. And also, it's like the fastest way of working. But yeah, I mean, a lot of times I feel like animation is kind of like still life fast, or like life drawing fast. That's what I'd call it. You have to like the essence of life drawing, but done in a very quick manner. That's how I'd like to say about it. I mean, if you watch any of my videos, just any part that's animated is me. Though I think on my second channel, Samar, I have an old reel of bits and pieces I've done on the channel, on the second channel, which is called Stephen 2. There might be a reel, but that stuff is a couple years old now, I guess. But like any piece of animation that's in my videos, you can find it not that hard by just watching one of them. Though, like, I don't do anything too fancy recently. Again, because of my wrist, I haven't even been, like, I haven't had the capacity, really, because of my wrist. I can't do anything too hardcore. But the last time I did a big animation-y stuff was probably on the Con video, like the Satoshi Kon problem. And I had my problems with what I did back then because I was doing it in the most lo-fi way possible. Some of it was on paper. Some of it was in Photoshop. And, yeah, it's just, like, really rough around the edges. Hello, Cat. Nowadays, I have a nice version of Clip Studio Paint. I actually bought the animation version recently, so I'm hoping if my wrist gets better, I can actually do some proper like animation again using Clip Studio Paint, which has a lot better infrastructure. I like the brushes more. I like the way of doing stuff on there. I got coloring and all that more. So I'm hoping to use that, but like I only have done like limited stuff recently, if anything, because I just can't. It's not viable for me to do anything more than that, really. Drawing single frames is not really getting me anywhere. Dafford Brooks, I didn't even know there was a Mortal Kombat Legends Battle Realm anime coming out. I had no clue. So I don't know. I probably am not going to watch it. Yes, Sarma, I didn't work commercially, for obvious reasons. I'm not very... When I got out of university, I was definitely not a commercial artist. I was, like, avant-garde as fuck. I've kind of, like, smoothed the edges out a lot with, like, the YouTube channel. I kind of make it, the context of my work appeals to, like, what I'm talking about in its context. That didn't make any sense, I don't think. The work I make is a representation of what I'm talking about. So like I don't tend to go too weird in a lot of the animation or design for my videos unless I feel like it, because it's not suited to what I'm talking about. Coming up. Come up. Come up. There we go. You on camera? I don't know, you might be on camera. Just barely. There we go. Alright, I guess, oh, so I guess good news, everyone. OBS has been working fine. I guess the update did everything I needed it to. I took out my Bluetooth mouse because I thought my Bluetooth mouse might be messing with it. I don't know why, but sometimes when I turn OBS on, my Bluetooth and my mouse, it doesn't work very well. I don't know why. I don't know if it's like interference, or when I click a USB next to it, which is like a hard drive, it gets funny. I don't know why. I don't know what it's like interference for whatever reason. Good cat. Good cat. Good cat. Sharon, I think if you want to watch a movie about men selfishly throwing themselves into the work detriment to everyone around them, I'd rather rewatch The Wind Rises. I mean, yeah, I guess that's kind of what that's about, yeah. I mean, there's some other weird kind of like awkward stuff in there about, Ghibli's a little too cowardly to like talk about the war crime shit, especially when they made a film about someone who made war crimes. But like they also forgot to conveniently mention the parts about like how the real person like left the army by 1940 before his planes were used for such things, because he couldn't take knowing what was happening in the war. He was very presently aware. The idea that he's ignorant is just not true, and it's kind of like a weird revisionism, and I don't like that about the film. I think it's really weird to like be that revisionist and try and pretend that there's like this weird like complete I don't know, like just naiveness in the air, like, oh, we don't know what's happening, we have no clue what's happening, this is terrible, whoa. It's just like, you're fucking full of shit, don't give me that. I don't believe you. And it's not true. It's not historically true. And I guess, like, Miyazaki always plays with his adaptations. Like, the guy didn't have a wife either, so that's just kind of like his territory. But it does feel a bit like, it's a little bit cowardly. Though I understand that's not really what the film is supposed to be about, but it's still like, when the ending kind of happens as it does feel kind of jarring. Oh, thanks, Spence. Yeah, I did the thumbnail for Shaves' new video. Maybe I should point that at someone. I don't know. I didn't do anything else in the video. I had a look at the script a couple times, but like I kind of agree with the general sentiment of what he's saying to some. So like I wasn't going hard the opposite side. I was just kind of telling him like, hey, maybe cut this intro. It's too long. That kind of thing. What do I think about the stupid Taco Bell Nacho Fries anime short? It was a little bit uncanny because it's like full anime. Because it's supposed to be like anime, right? But like it's full animation and it's lip synced. So it was like a bit weird to me because I was like, well, this is like complete full animation. This is an American production. I can tell. It's kind of like using an anime-esque style. I don't even like saying that because I feel like that means nothing. But like, it's sort of like you can tell what their influences are. I mean, I'm sure the people who worked on it were paid very well, so I don't fucking care. Like, it was a job for those freelancers. They were hopefully treated well and paid well. That's all I can really say. Like, whatever. How's it going, son, bro? Samara, I actually think Soviet animation era is very cool and interesting. And I love Yuri Norenstein. I have a book on him, and I really wanted to make a video about The Overcoat if it ever gets finished. I've been like wanting to do it for years. They made a documentary about it, and I'm so pissed off. I had a chance to watch the documentary. Like there was like an online film festival that was playing it, and I mixed up the dates and I just didn't get to watch it. It's really annoying. I would have loved to watch the Overcloak documentary just to see how it's going, and like maybe one day I'll make a video. If he ever finishes the film, I'd love to do a video on it. I'd love to watch this documentary and make a video about his career and what he's like, and give some recommendations and talk about the nature of working on something for that long, and like his perspective on that, and just like the perspective on artistry in itself. Because to dedicate yourself as one person for that long is it is admirable, but it's also kind of fucking crazy. Like I don't know, like what do you do with your life after if you spend the better part of your life, like half of your life if not more, working on one thing and you finish it, then what do you do? What can you do? I don't know. Maybe it would be satisfying, maybe it would feel very hollow. I have no idea. My cat says that she likes uh it what's it called? Tsushima? Itsushima or Ore Tsushima? Aidashima, whatever it's called, Itsushima. She likes the show about the fat cat that's like got a big graspy voice. She likes that show. It's the only show I've watched this year. It's like a minute and 30 seconds each episode, and there's like some even shorter shorts alongside. It's my favorite show of the year. The name of my cat is Squeak. As you can tell, she's loud. That's where she got that name. I didn't name her myself though. Yeah, I mean the Soviet animation didn't have like the boundaries necessarily of like the American industry, so it goes everywhere, and I think that's what I find was interesting about it. Like I've seen some of it. One of my when I was in university, one of the people in our course, she was Russian, and she showed us a lot of Soviet animation that she grew up on. Really fascinating stuff. Um, Bennett, I did not choose to skip your name. I just didn't watch it. What do you want from it? I haven't watched what's his name again? Shinkai, right? I haven't watched a Shinkai film since I was 16 years old. That was like 11 years ago. I haven't seen one since. I can watch them another time. I'm not that bothered. Um, I mean, there's definitely like an element of Miyazaki in a lot of his films, especially The Wind Rises. Though it's like a weird place to put himself in. He put himself in between a rock and a hard place with that one. But yeah, I mean, if the film is really about Miyazaki's journey, which a lot of people would argue it is, there's like some really weird toxic mindsets in there. Like his whole like you only got true talent for like 10 years. Like where the fuck did he get that idea from? That's like some fucking batshit crazy people stuff. It's like, oh, you only have true potential for like 10 years. Like, where did you hear this from? Like, this it's an insult to all animators who like ever. It's like just say like, oh yeah, sorry mate, your career was only worth it for like 10 years or 15 years, and everything after that was complete bollocks. Like that late masterpiece you're making, Mr. Urin. He knows Norestein. Miyazaki knows Norestein. I don't know where he's getting this idea from. Like if he was like went up to Norestein and was like, "Sorry, mate, I only like your first 15 years of films. I know you've been working on the Overcoat for like 30 plus years, but it's probably gonna be shit because you're old." Like Jesus Christ, it's like ignorance in a fucking jar. British animation, I mean most of British animation is quite dark. I've I haven't seen Plague Dogs, but like every year they play Watership Down on British television. Animal Farm is also quite commonly played. Wallace and Gromit is like the softer stuff. I think I guess technically British animation, right, would be Cartoon Saloon. Cartoon Saloon does pretty good work. I like them quite a bit. Um, there's also, is it the Wind? There's like a film about nukes called something in the Wind. I think it's called. I forget the name of it. That one's pretty interesting. I don't know. You could probably find someone talking about this shit. I'm trying to think of really big detriment. Like a lot of the British animation shorts I know, like the shorts, you know, like the Snowman or Tiger Coaster T, which was a more recent one. But these sort of smaller productions, one of the weirder like nuclear ones that the BFI have on their channel. Not I'm trying to think of any others that would be really. There's a lot of British animators in a couple of the later French films. The Illusionist, I think, from the French creator of the one with the bicycles. I think there's a lot of British animators in that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really that up to date in British animation, to be honest. So that's the best you're gonna get out of me. I mean, if you want more depression, then yeah, watch Watership Down. I mean, what like in my local area, like yeah, Aardman is kind of like the king of like British animation. If you want to watch like Chicken Run or something. Dedicating your rest of life to one story of work and the end of it. Also, imagine I'd be unfulfilled and depressed the more life. Well, the issue I always have with like a long project for me personally, just is that like after a while I get really tired of the project and I don't want to fucking do it anymore. I just get really pissed off. I'm just like I'm done with this shit. I want to move on. So like the idea, like I'd have to be so you just need to be like so dedicated to work on a production for that many years. You have to really like believe in it with all your like life force. And like I'm always just like, yeah, but this isn't interesting to me anymore. Like I'm too like that for like many things that I don't know if I could do it, but maybe one day, who knows. The Nose or the Conspiracy of Mavericks is bloody near nowhere to be found. Yeah, I mean, a lot of older films you're not going to be able to find, I'm afraid. What is that, The Nose? Is it like a... What is it? One of the, like, Soviet films, is it? 2020. It's quite new, is it? Oh, Russian traditional stop motion, is it? Okay, that's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, sometimes that's easier said than done. Looks pretty cool, though, whatever it is. When the Wind Blows? Is that the one I'm thinking of? Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. The BFI has a deal on it. You can buy it on their store. Cameron, where did you get this idea that Miyazaki is George Lucas from? I don't really see that. I don't know where you would get that comparison. I don't think they make or seem very similar, to be honest. Right. What time is it now? Alright, it's 8:30. Oh, cat's asleep. I'm gonna take my band off for a second. Sorry, I've just blanked out a little bit there. Just taking a moment, I guess. How are we all doing this night? I drank too much water, so my stomach hurts now. Another one of those magical things with Steve's body is that like it is constantly in a state of falling apart. It seems. My stomach is very particular too. But yeah, I am in a position of saying I think I may have drank too much water, but I also need more. It's a dilemma. We'll see. But they have... Alright, so you think that George Lucas is like Miyazaki because of dumb takes and ridiculous ways of thinking now that past their prime? Well, I think... I would say that this is kind of like a misunderstanding of like who Lucas is, though. Lucas is like a galaxy... Lucas is more like Tomino, because he is a galaxy-brained lunatic who has ideas that are far too big for him to possibly like comprehend into the world that exists around us, and he needs to funnel that through something. And depending on what he's funneling it through, you might get something that, you know, I don't know, revolutionizes like a generation of bored fucking white kids and makes them think about space travel or whatever, fucking cowboys in space. Or you might get something like the prequels, which is just like on a different level, like 4D thinking about like the idea of the fall of democracy and fascism under the guise of a flashy, crazy kids film. Like this is the yeah, I don't know, like the idea of I don't know. I think it's kind of disrespectful to say any artist is past their prime unless they've really fucking hit bottom barrel. Like I don't think anything about Miyazaki to me feels like a man past his prime. He feels like a man who's like 80 fucking years old. I think that's a very different thing. To be 80 and be past your prime is two different styles. We have no idea how his new film's going to turn out. I mean, he's going really hard on it. Like it could be, you know, could be his best film. Who knows? It's hard to say. But like, you know, people change and things happen. Like George Lucas is in a bit of a difficult perspective because George like directed what, like 3 films in his whole fucking, well, no, for like 5 films, is it? The guy very rarely directed. Like he's known as a director, but he's very rarely actually directed films. He spent a lot of time as a producer and like as a like an executive producer, and he's been very effective as that. Very effective. The man basically revolutionized. I don't know if we really give him the credit, but for better or for worse, George Lucas literally changed the face of like filmmaking again in the 2000s when he said, "Yeah, we're going digital and you're gonna shoot everything on blue screens." Like that shit's still fucking now. Like he literally like was like, "Yeah, this is the future of blockbusters. This is how we shoot them now. This is how this is gonna happen." Like the dude did like literally those prequels like changed the game in like a lot of ways. And like, I mean, yeah, you could say for better, for worse. I mean, there's no moving back, so this is the landscape. But he was very forward thinking on those ideas, and they're still being forward thinking to this day at like, you know, the fucking Lucas Ranch with their weird hologram circles that they put their actors in nowadays. Yeah, have Miyazaki were 6 progressively worse re-releases of his film. I mean, I can't even be mad at Lucas at this point. I'm more mad at like the restoration kind of thing, where like I would like to have the other versions. Like as long as I could have like an original cut of the film, wouldn't care. But I think it's almost just funny now. Just every time that Lucas like he just like changes something slightly. You know, like there's that idea, you know, where they say like, you know, a painting is never really finished, and I think Lucas really does believe that, where he just goes back and he just touches up things, and I almost think he does it now just to piss people off, and I think that's kind of fucking hilarious because I'm beyond the age of being like 14 and being like, stop messing with your films, Lucas, and now I'm just like, yeah, what the fuck ever, you know, the people have like literally spent their fucking 5 years or whatever doing like despecialized versions of these films. You can find the original cuts if you want to look for them in a pretty decent quality now, even though like it's all on the pirate sphere. I would like it if there was an original, you know, film cut version of them from back in the day that you could buy in an archive. I would like that, but at this point I don't have any muster in me to be angry about Lucas adding in McClunky. I think that's fucking hilarious. I thought he said the Jurassic Park inspired him to do the prequels. I don't know, maybe. You'd have to look it up. He may have thought that. It's entirely possible. Though, like, I have a feeling that Lucas would have probably done the prequels either way because he'd already planned to do like 6 films back in the 80s. He told like Mark Hamill about this. Like, there's an interview with Mark Hamill from back in the day when he talks about like the ideas for like the sequels and the prequels, and he kind of gives like this idea that he told Lucas back, like that he told him like the general idea of what was supposed to happen. Um, Sarmar, I have no idea what Inu-O is, so I can't help you there. Yeah, I mean, saying that if Tomino wants to kill his characters, that's pretty much his own right. I mean, fair to him. Like most characters, you know, most people are like a little bit too shy to just randomly kill their characters. I think it's kind of endearing in its own way. Sharon, I can actually tell you what his sequel plan was. All right, so Sharon, let's go through it. So like recently, they released this like prequel, big old hardback about the history of the prequels and such, and like a lot of like behind the scenes stuff. And they also had in them his pitch for the sequels. So the idea Lucas had for the sequel trilogy, very fascinating as well. It's full of like terrible ideas and great ideas at the same time. It's classic Lucas. So he had this idea that like after the emperor died, there would be a power vacuum, just like there was in Syria and Iraq, right? He was basically saying that the stormtroopers and the empire would become more like the Taliban or like ISIS, and there'd be like splinter groups and different variations of them. There'd be like a power gap. There'd be like a power vacuum, and it would create weird splinters, and like the whole situation with the seventh, like the sequel trilogy, will be sort of like, yeah, the kind of trying to rebuild democracy effectively and trying to deal with the power vacuum. But he also wanted to bring Darth Vader, sorry, not Darth Vader, he wanted to bring back Darth Maul out of nowhere after like 80 years, and then give him a super sexy apprentice girl who's in the one of the extended universe. I don't know. So he was going to have sexy apprentice lady and him were going to be the big bads now, and there was going to be like, I guess it was going to be some of their sons and daughters, kind of like what they did. I think it was like Han Solo and Leia's son and daughter, and then at some point Leia was going to actually be the chosen one, and there was going to be some stuff about the Wills. The Wills were going to come into it more at some point. I think he wanted to bring the Wills like canonically into it, which he kind of had done in the Clone Wars show, and they expanded that along into like the other shows too, like bringing the Wills as a canonical character in the story of, you know, the one that tells the story of the Force, and bringing out like the weird science fiction elements of it, like really hardcore. That, you know, it's like a race of super intelligent aliens that created the Force, and then it's like a mythical thing afterwards, like fucking gods and demons, or whatever. I don't know. So it's crazy bullshit, fascinating crazy bullshit. And I'm sure he would have had a wonderful time making it, but Disney did not let him touch a single thing, which is maybe to the detriment, because you know Disney just made like what they thought would be commercially viable, where George wanted to do something that was really fucking out there. So like maybe there was like a good in between, but you know, we didn't get that. Honestly, there's also something else that, like, the older I've gotten, the more I kind of admire what George does, because George really does let creators just fucking go wild. Like, a lot of the designs and stuff in the prequels were basically just like, the amount of freedom he gave these people is amazing when you think about it. Like, he just give these concept artists like ideas and be like, yeah, we're gonna create like another Sith, so like just fucking whatever, just go for it, my friend. He didn't have like a huge idea or anything. He'd just be like, yeah, this is the name and this is what he does, I guess, and just fucking whatever. And then like even like there's like webisodes of them creating like General Grievous, and it's like, oh, I like this design, and he'd like put a post-it note on it, be like, kind of do more with this one, and then they do another like 5 post-it notes concepts. And it's the same with like a lot of the design work. You can see that the influences are all over the place. Like there are ships in the prequels that are from Nausicaa. There's stuff from like Ben-Hur. There's stuff from like old Harryhausen films. Stuff from Blade Runner. Like yeah, the designers of these films, they got to be like completely let wild, and in a way that I don't think they could in the Disney ones, because they tried to keep to like a standard of like, this is what Star Wars is supposed to look like, keep within this confine. Where like Lucas just doesn't fucking care. So he's like, yeah, we're gonna make 17,000 different clone trooper designs. Each film's gonna have different ones, and there'll be different factions of them. So there's gonna be these ones and this one and this one, and there's the orange one that's Commander Cody, and here's the special saber ones. Yeah, it goes off one. Oh, it's the new Yuasa film. Maybe. I don't know. I'm kind of behind the Yuasa. And yeah, caring about Star Wars is, you know, it's up and down. I think I've kind of lost the will to like be outraged or annoyed or whatever about it. I'm just kind of in it for the ride. Occasionally, I will like look up something about Star Wars and like be kind of curious. Like I'm always curious about playing old Star Wars games. I've got a lot of nostalgia for playing old Star Wars games. I sometimes read a novel, but usually they're kind of bad. Even the ones that people like, I think, are a little bit like indulgent. But you know, they can be fun in their own right. And you know, sometimes I dabble. But like, yeah, I think actually the production and the behind the scenes and all the other stuff now really makes it's far more interesting to me than the actual film. Sometimes I like hearing about how these people made it and what they had to do. That stuff to me is like, well, this is actually really cool. Like, I would love to sit down and find those old commentaries George did. Like, George did commentaries for I think all three of the prequels to kind of like give his like philosophy while making them. And I just love to sit down and listen to him, just like go off on one. I think that would be like a good time, more so than like me actually caring about watching the film. Fortunately, it's not really one of my favorites, but sexy Darth Maul. Yeah, that's basically the idea. It would be like sexy Darth Maul and Darth Maul, but Darth Maul with like robot legs. I mean, I think he had something to do with Starkiller, didn't he, old Lucas? Jar Jar, maybe Jar Jar would have came back. Maybe he'd make a Jar Jar. Do you know that Jar Jar is Lucas's favorite character? He's a madman. He might actually literally just bring back Jar Jar, and he'd do something really fun. He'd do that because the thing about Lucas that you have to respect is the man has no fucking boundary of it. You can piss and moan about his films as much as you want, and he'll probably still do what he wants to do. I mean, sure, he like decreases what Jar Jar's in the films, but he still like goes, oh yeah, by the way, Jar Jar made everyone kill everyone. He ordered execute 66. That was actually Jar Jar. He's the reason that happened. Like, so Lucas likes to play with this shit a lot. And but like I feel like you can't like shame Lucas out of not doing something. Where like Disney seemed to have shit their pants as soon as they like brought someone in and let them do some stuff. They were like they shit pissed and didn't come, and they were like fuck, we got to stand by this. Oh wait, no, we shouldn't stand by this. Oh oh no, we've got to backtrack everything now. Like, that's how Disney thinks, where Lucas would be like, oh, okay, well, that's a shame. I'm just going to do whatever I want again. And yet the people that work with Lucas say he's a really nice fella. I've never really seen someone that, like, complained about working with him being, like, a shit deal. He's usually very polite and caring and kind to everyone he works with. And it sounds like being on a set with him is a delight. So that's all I had to care about. I mean, yeah, there's. I don't know if it's yes men, but like Lucas just had the power and the influence that no one could stop him, and that's kind of where he was at. He was just him being like a true auteur. Like the only reason we would say it's like a yes man thing is because people don't like his auteur work, but like he was very much a true auteur. The prequels are like the biggest budgeted auteur work of like that thing, even to I don't think they let union workers on it for some reason. I think there's like some weird politics behind that. Lucas didn't want to have screen testing, so he didn't hire union actors. So like his actors were out of union, but I guess he probably gave them the right deals because it's Lucas. But like he had very specific things, like he didn't want to do screen testing because like no, fuck audiences. I don't care what audiences say. I want to do it my way, which is why the films are the way they are. And like you could say it's yes men, but like dude's fucking in charge. Like it isn't yes men. It's just like he does what he wants. And then, but like there's also a lot of freedom in the creativity of it because Lucas is willing to work with people who know more than he does in certain aspects. So like he defers to like, these are the choreographers. You're going to do this work. I defer to you to do the concept work. That's your job. Like he defers his things, and he's also very good at keeping on a schedule, which is the key for all this. There's no way you can be a crazy auteur if you don't keep on schedule. That's when they start taking away the reins. I mean, the original trilogy, there was a lot of factors. I think Lucas is obviously a key to the factors too. But yeah, editors. This is the thing, though, Pineapple Apple Thief. All films are an act of compromise between every faction in the situation. Editors, writers, actors, all this stuff there. That like, but again, like the prequels, George definitely has a much larger role, and he's a different man, and there's a lot of factors there. But I think that creates its own uniqueness. I don't even know if I necessarily like the prequels, but I do respect them the older I get because of how out there they are, and I think the concepts they do explore are far more interesting than the original trilogy. They just happen to be like a lot more uneven. I mean, the only one I really like is the third one, which I seem to like every time I watch it. I mean, to be fair, getting outraged about Star Wars is like such an old game. Like people have been getting outraged about Star Wars since like fucking Return of the Jedi. Like I'm so fucking done with that shit. Like I don't see how these are fucking cartoons these are like space cartoon films for fucking children. I don't know. I feel like it's hard for me to be like so outraged by the quality control being like inconsistent. You know, yeah, I don't know. Like I had to put my energy somewhere else. The Dark Jar Jar theory is very funny. I don't think there's any legitimacy to it, but I think it's very funny. Only Star Wars fans would go that hard on these sort of theories, but yeah. Yeah, Lucas's wife edited the first movie. I don't think she edited the second movie, and she edited quote the crying and dying scenes in Return of the Jedi. Oh yeah, the David Lynch story with George Lucas is also amazing. Again, like Lynch is very similar. Like Lynch is also very similar about like he's an auteur, right? Like Lynch does things the way Lynch wants to do them, and unfortunately he couldn't for his Dune film. I think he's still bitter about that, but he doesn't seem to have any interest in ever coming back to it. He never got final cut. He never got to do what he wanted. He never got to use all the footage, or there's a lot of, that can be frustrating. Have I seen Kaufman's movies? Like Being John Malkovich, Endless Mind of a Spotless Son, or whatever it's called. I have seen Adaptation. I've seen those three. Are there more? There's more, isn't there? I've seen like a lot of his earlier films. Yeah, I haven't seen his newer ones, like the stop motion one or the one he made for Netflix. I haven't seen those two, but I've seen his earlier work. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I understand why people hate Anakin, but like, I also kind of totally get him. I don't know. Like again, like the older I get, like I kind of totally get that. Like, I think there's sort of a point to him being like a whiny shitbag because he's a fucking fascist. Yeah, of course he's a fucking whiny shitbag. Of course he's like Hitler-esque. Like, yeah, no shit. Of course, this man who was once a golden boy of the Clone Wars, which again is like the fucking Iraq War, like, but he's like supposed to be the cool kids war criminal, right? I'm having all the, and then the Clone Wars, the show is literally him doing his like war crimes and having a fun snarky time about it. And then yeah, he makes decisions where like yeah, the Jedi are shitheads, and then he makes decisions against them and signs a deal with the devil. Yeah, we didn't see that one coming. The kid who was like always like overestimated his abilities and was so full of pride and anger and had like issues that the Jedi were unwilling to help him with. Like fucking Anakin needed therapy. He didn't need a fucking lightsaber. Like yeah, it doesn't surprise me one bit that that's the man he became. I just think that some people would have liked Anakin to be like a charismatical, lovable, like champ of a guy, so they could feel sadder when he became Darth Vader. They didn't want him to be like a whiny little guy who like killed children. But like, yeah, I mean, he was Darth Vader. He was like the head of the fascist regime. Like, do you want Anakin to be like the coolest dude ever, the coolest fascist you've ever met? Like, I mean, yeah, I don't think Lucas was gonna do that one. Yeah, I feel really bad that they the Anakin's child actor, he had a really hard time, but like I don't. All right, I want to be like really clear here because Pineapple Apple Thief. I don't necessarily think that this is like Lucas's. It's a lot of factors here, and unfortunately, like when you're a child actor, this happens to all of them. The issue is that like he happened to be in Star Wars, but like his life wasn't necessarily just ruined by Star Wars. I think it's really important to put Jake Lloyd. Jake Lloyd has bipolar, and he's a troubled man. He went to film school. He went to make films, but he has like he's a really troubled individual. Like he has problems. He had medication. He's been through like he's been to jail. I think he's had some issues with this, and he has these other factors. Like I know he said something critical of George before because I think in his mind he said not necessarily that George treated him poorly, but that he thought that like turning it into like a kids film was like a mistake to some degree. But like I understand what George wanted in some degree. George like really likes visual actors. Like he was given a couple like very traditional kid actors. Jake Lloyd also was not just in Star Wars. He was a child actor. He was in other films, and like child actors don't tend to be good. I'm afraid that's just how it goes. Like, a lot of them aren't great. He was just a cute white kid. And like that's what happened. And like yeah, the dialogue didn't help him and stuff like that. But like I don't know, George saw something in the kid. He gave him a shot, and like he got what I think George wanted out of it. And like he wanted visual. He wanted a kind of very particular feeling for the kid. He wanted a very particular visual reaction because George is very much like he doesn't necessarily care about how you say the dialogue as he like it's how you read it. Like he like looks. I don't even know if he's listening to people when he hears the dialogue. He looks at their faces and he's like, "Is that what I want from them?" And you see that in his behind the scenes thing where he talks about that. Like he thinks that Lloyd has something that like there's something about him that he finds interesting, and that's what he goes for. He wants interesting actors, not great actors. And unfortunately, it's bad because it's the biggest film ever. But like Jar Jar Binks had the same problem. But I don't know if we can necessarily blame. I mean, maybe you can. Maybe you can blame George Lucas for making Jar Jar Binks a character, but like the dude who got behind that also. I think ultimately you need to blame the people. You need to blame the people. Like I feel like it's just a fucking film. Like I don't really put that on George as much as I put it on the people who are being assholes to these people. Like why the fuck are you taking this so seriously? Like it was just a role. Like there are tons of terrible bad child actors. Like do you need to really like put out him? Do you need to like ruin the Jar Jar Binks' actor's career? Like, what is this? Yeah, I mean, show business destroys people. It's fair. Like I think I don't know if it's on George that happened. I mean, all right, Sharon. I actually think that what's worth bringing up. That I don't even think the politics is necessarily bad in the first film. I think people like to complain about that shit. I think the key problem about the politics, I'd say in episode 1, is that you don't, as an outsider, you really don't understand what the politics are about. Like you don't have the capacity. Like unless you've read some of the like extended universe shit, you have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. And usually with like a sci-fi film, you're supposed to be given a window into that world. But like unless you like really thorough in the lore, you don't know what the taxation, trades, and all this other shit that's happening. Like you really don't know what that is, unless you look at it from like a wide-angle lens and go, no, the trade dispute is the beginning of fascism. That's how Lucas wants to look at it. He goes, no, historically, this is what happens. There's a trade dispute. Someone tries to take power because of the trade dispute, and they use the influence of war and the positions between these to gain influence, and then you slowly push more, and then there's a big war that breaks out, and you use the continuous battle between those two to keep rising through to gain power to ultimately destroy your enemies by killing them, like in the Night of Long Knives, which is what Palpatine does. He kills all the people that would contest against him, and he emboldens himself through propaganda. But like, yeah, it's like the situation itself, like the idea of the whole like trade and tax stuff, like it's kind of like a small smidgen. But this is just like George being a historian kind of guy. It's like, yeah, he's just being like, this is what happens. This is what happens in real life. It's true. But then also it's like a kids film with like a kid with the goers. Now this is pod racing and all that stuff. I mean, I hope Shia LaBeouf's doing better than he used to be. He seemed to be having a real troubled time. But like, yeah, I think most actors tend to. I mean, Sharon, I think that's just pure Lucas, right? The whole thing of Lucas being just like, nah, this is a Star Wars film. I can open it with politics if I want. Fuck you. Like, I think that's just like, and I do believe it's a fish out of water thing, because I think he wants to present the Jedi to his audience as what they are, which at that time are like basically bureaucrats' bodyguards. Like he wants to look at like the Shogun, like they're kind of like, in a way, these Jedi literally run they have a huge influence on the politics of the situation. They are like well, I don't know if I'd call, they are like monks by one word, like they're like spiritual Bushido in one way, but it's kind of all bullshit. And like they live in these giant towers over a giant city. They're supposed to be like monks that live on nothing, and yet they live in like the biggest, most expensive like building in the world with holograms and a giant library. And they teach kids using these huge, powerful technologies. And there's like so much. And they're like, if you see the Jedi archives, are like huge. Like they preach one thing in like a kind of Buddhist Shinto way, but then they actually practice something else, which is their ultimate downfall. And you kind of see that they aren't like these legendary knights that they're presented by Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan's a liar. We find that out in Return of the Jedi. Like Obi-Wan is a lying asshole, and he'd like you to forget that. But this is the reality of those wars, what the Clone Wars were like. They weren't these cool battles of like, you know, like of the golden age, like these sort of like serials from the 30s. They really were like messy, ugly wars where there's like a grey sort of position with them, which you only really see if you like see the extended stuff, because you know these films have like 2 hours to tell a story. I mean, if it's the right choice for a space kids film, I don't know, but like that is the decision that Lucas would have made. And if he had a test audience, this is what they would have told him. The test audience would have told him, George, this is not how you open a film for kids. You can't open on space politics. And George would be like, oh, but I want to open on space politics. It's actually the most important thing about the film if you think about it from my perspective. From a certain kind of view, I think it's the right decision. And then that would be the fight. But you know, he made his decision. Yeah, we're in really dramatic lighting right now. I'm in the fucking Sith Lord. All right, guys, look at me right now. I'm in a. This is what a Sith base would look like. If I got like a hood on, like imagine I had a hood on, right? And I was like, yes, yes, let your hate flow through you. You hate the sequel trilogy. Have you considered becoming a fascist like me? I mean, Sith Lord. Yes, yes. Join me, and together we will rule the internet. Discourse. So yeah, that's how you do it. Can we get off the whole stuff? Hey, you guys, you're the ones chatting about it, not me. Right? You're the ones that brought it up. I don't know. Like, I think I've said what I've got to say about it. I don't know. I didn't have much else to say, but it's a fun. I don't know. I get far too invested in these stupid topics, but like I do think that George is a very fascinating individual, even if if I like his films or not. I think he's interesting, and that's what I usually look for when I'm talking about people and directors and stuff. Is people that fascinate me for a myriad of reasons, even like the people they work with. How's it going, Cavbot? And yeah. Darth Sidious would be a good Twitch streamer. I think he really would. Yeah, maybe I'm about to die. Maybe I'm about to get like, you know, on one side is the dark side. We got the blue light here. Like, it's the good and bad. Like I'm doing the duality. Cameron, I don't watch Hunter x Hunter, so I can't give you a good one on that one. And also, yeah, the Clone Wars by Genndy Tartakovsky is a really good like short animation for like Star Wars stuff. I think that's the fun one, though. Like the CGI one is the one that's more like politically driven. Like at first it was like a kid show, but then as the seasons went beyond, they start talking a lot more about like the space politics and like how like it sort of goes, and there's some other stuff in there too. It's like in these like wild. It's basically the thing with like the CGI show is it was basically proof that like George's ideas are like there, but like you need to filter it through something else. So like having a different director, having different writers and producers, like putting him like in a more backwards position, and then having people work with him in a more like collaborative sense seems to like give better results for like his ideas. That's yeah, anyway. Yeah, again, like a director's cut is not always the best choice. But yeah, like the I've watched the extended cut, the first extended cut of Apocalypse Now, and it's worse in every way. The scenes they add just aren't worth being in the film. And I think it's hard now because there's like so many there's like a ridiculous amount of cuts for Apocalypse Now, and each of them gets worse than the last. Blade Runner is gets another example because there's like so many different cuts of Blade Runner. I think a lot of them have kind of been left on DVD. I have them. I have like all the cuts for Blade Runner on DVD. But like nowadays, the only cut you can get, I think, is the final cut usually. The one that was made in like 2007, which I mean, it's mostly fine, I guess. But like, yeah, if you don't like the unicorn shit or like the whole Deckard android bollocks that like he added, you're probably not going to be too happy, and you'd probably rather have like the fake director's cut or one of the others. I think having the choice between different versions is always to me like the most important thing. But usually, like a creator will make a decision, and then it'll be like, oh, okay, well that's now the only version you can have. And I don't really like that. I don't like that. I don't think it. But then I get that like you like are you really gonna just every time there's a new format are you really gonna bring out like four different versions of a film? Ideally, you just put them all in like a collector's edition. But yeah, I get it's like it's not practical. So one version tends to get like the push. All right, I need to go in a second. I just need to go to the toilet real quick, and then I will probably be off soon, and I'll have to cook some dinner. Have I seen ultra gory OVAs? Yeah, I've seen a fair few. I've seen my fair share of OVAs back in the day, especially like Devilman. Will they come back as ONA? It depends. It remains to be seen because they need to actually be viable as like profiteerable. And I think a lot of those OVAs were only profitable because of the rental market, and that doesn't exist anymore. So like even if those numbers weren't as high as they are now, like I think that the continuous renting of like B movie sort of like atmosphere that the OVA era did is why those things existed as they did, and that market doesn't exist anymore. It's entirely possible that an ONA market could exist, but it has to be off stuff that people actually come and watch. So like you might see stuff like Baki the Grappler, which is kind of that era, right? And that will get like 3 or 4 seasons on Netflix or something. But like yeah, so if you're seeing things come back, it might be stuff that just has a huge reputation, like Rikio. Like I know Rikio in China and Japan. I think especially China, like the manga sold really well. So like I wouldn't be surprised if like a Rikio show comes out at some point. But like if it's like old stuff that's like of that era, it's probably the stuff that has like a big reputation, like Devilman, that will come back. And probably not the stuff that's like originals. It will be like ones that have like like maybe you'll see a new Fist of the North Star. Like maybe we'll see another Fist of the North Star adaptation on Netflix. That could happen. Okay, so yeah, I'll be back in 1 second, everyone. I'm just gonna go to the toilet real quick. Yeah, I mean the Snyder cut only happened because of HBO Plus as well. Like if HBO Plus and the pandemic hadn't happened, that you can guarantee that would never fucking happened. It was really specific just to try and get people on their servers. All right, where's my picture? All right, be back in 2 seconds. Check, 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 check. All right, we're back to dramatic lighting. Whoa. Let me put that up higher. Over here? Actually, no, I kind of liked it there. There we go. Alright. Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, the HD version of X the movie is really cool. Yeah, the DVD quality, I have a DVD, it's not very high quality. Would I do a video on Studio Comet? I don't even know who they are. Who are Studio Comet? I'll look at Wikipedia. What have they done? Art of Fighting. Oh, they did the old Initial D show, did they? There is nothing here that I could make a video out of, to be honest. I've already talked about Initial D. I don't really know any of the others here. Like, there's nothing here that I'd, there doesn't seem much there that I would talk about. I don't see the narrative. Okay. Yeah, it's a shame there's no like Blu-ray cut of X the movie. That would be really cool. Maybe one day. I should. Stephen gets into Jewel Pet. Oh wow. Should I check out Jewel Pet, Hazel? I've never heard of it. Looks pretty aesthetic, but like very Sanrio. Damn, these girls are 2000 as hell, aren't they? 2009, damn. Magical Girls. Interesting. I mean, it looks like the comments seem to really love it. But they're all screaming. They're all screaming, so I don't know. Maybe it's a very loud show. Just made them deaf. They're all just screaming in cap lock. Do they also make Let me just have a look through their little discography. I wonder if they made. Oh no, they didn't make Princess Comment. That's a different thing, isn't it? Made a lot of Jewel Pet, I see. I mean, I made a video about the Initial D memes, but I think this first season is really good. Oh damn, Liam, you got the good the good time zone then for it. Because yeah, it's getting kind of late for me. So like in a moment, I might go start making dinner because I should probably have something before I get back to my giant list of stuff that I need to do on this video. It says here bar shot, so there's a bar shot I need to do. Maybe I can get that done by the end of the day. And Crying Miyazaki. So yeah, that was. I don't know if I'll be able to draw a Crying Miyazaki by the end of the day, but that might be a bit hard. I mean, yeah, X 1999 has absolutely batshit story. That's why I kind of like it though. I like that. Like I have absolutely no idea what's going on, and it's kind of like all the encompassingly like a sensory overload. That is what I find interesting about it because I'm not really like 100% invested in like it as an adaptation because I've never read X. I'm only into it for like the what the fuck's going on here, and I'm cool about that. Yeah, I think going into it blind is probably the coolest way to watch it. I feel like if I had read the manga or maybe seen the TV show beforehand, I might be a bit more like, well, this isn't a very good adaptation. This is not what I wanted as a viewer of this series. But instead, I was just like, this is fucking cool. And yes, Crying Miyazaki. That is there's at least two sections of this new video where there is going to be crying Miyazaki's. A lot of crying happening. But I don't know. I'll finish the bar one. I think I can finish the bar shot because I have like I've got some stuff down for it. I might start like making a plan that goes a bit further though. After I finish the bar shot, I might just start going through my script further and just like figuring out more things I need to get done. Because I must be coming up to the part where we're going to be editing like footage, because a lot of what I've done so far in the first chunk of it is mainly like live action and drawing and like photos and editing that way. It's a lot more intensive, so I haven't actually got to any like heavy footage editing yet. I think there's only been like 2 clips of anything so far, so I need to start like writing down like and collecting all the clips I need, and a lot of it's probably going to be from the movie. And because of how varied this video is, I'm hoping it doesn't really ever get picked up by Ghibli anytime soon. I really don't want to have an event where like I put it out for like 2 days and it just gets taken down straight away and I have to fight. I would love it if it just never got like involved in that, but if it did, I'd rather it happen like months down the line when all its momentum is sort of eased up. Speaking of which, I don't know if I mentioned this before. Maybe I should mention this. I was talking to a sponsor recently, and yeah, the sponsor YouTube game is fucked up, man. It's absolutely like a fucking, oh my god, it's terrible. Like the people, like they are out for like blood, and they will try and make sure that you know that this is the way they do it and it's how everyone does it, but they're not telling the truth, and they will try and find any way to to pay you less money for a deal. And it's yeah, I think I made a whole thread about it where I was just like, this is ridiculous. And like they will keep them, well, the more you push back against them, they just sort of, the rules seem to matter less and less, and they'll start adjusting little bits and pieces of the rules, like, oh, what about this, here, what about this, and then but still the conceit of it is like, no. I mean, I don't know, like, I think people need to understand what they want out of an adaptation isn't always what they're going to get. I really am not of the school, which I think there's a lot of manga and anime people who are of the school of like, no, it needs to be exactly like the manga and every panel needs to be shown on the screen in a moving format. And I'm not for that. I think that's a really bad way. That's a very stifling way to adapt anything, is to be forced into like panel to panel remaking of something. Yeah, it's going to limit your creativity to no bounds as like an animator, especially because like the way you make something in a manga is not how you're going to make something in a live action production. You will need to change stuff. Oh yeah, I'm doing everything I can to get the video going. I'm just trying to keep it going at like a good rate, because you know the last thing you want to do is sort of just have days where like nothing gets done and get into like kind of pattern. So I'm trying to keep the momentum going, because I'm in a position now where like the writing I usually find stressful and slow. But this part of the project is more like, this is where the momentum starts coming. I need to actually record the whole script, but it feels to me that it would be better if I go through the whole thing and have a list of everything I need for the video, so I know all the live action stuff and I know which parts I can do on narration, and then I can plan out specifically a time of the day when I'm going to record the script, and then match that with the time I do live action another day. Because there's going to be a lot of like live action cuts that are a little awkward. Like I might have to go through some comic books. I might need to go and grab my piano for the keyboard even for a shot. I might need to like yeah, just do like very particular stuff. So that's going to be its own shoot, and then there's also going to be the shoot where I'm in front of the camera and talking to people about certain parts of the production, which is, yeah, it's kind of like my B-roll. It'll be like parts where I can't, there is just like no footage, there's no pictures, there's no nothing, and it'll it would just be too much on my wrist to like fill it in fully usually. So like I find the parts where like it's dead space basically, and then I'll be on camera for those, and that will just make it like a functional project, because the video is going to be at least 30-40 minutes, so it's pretty big. It's the biggest Ghibli video I've ever done. Okay, well. Oh, by the way, Hazel, how's it going with I remember you said a while ago you were going through all of Clamp's mangas, weren't you? Are you still doing that? How's it going? And Cameron, I have no idea what you're talking about. Why are you talking about cartoon desk toys and statues on your shelf for consumers? I don't really know what this means. I mean, everyone's a consumer. I don't know what you really... don't really know what the point of what you're saying is. I don't know if you can live in this world without being a consumer of something. You know, you need a bed and desks and houses and places, stuff like that. You know, vacuum cleaner, a fridge, ovens, probably a television, maybe a computer. You know, it's kind of unavoidable. Well, I'm kind of the opinion as well, to some degree, that like, if you wanted the original version of something, you can just read it, and that like doing something different with it can be like its own experience. Where like if you make a version that's quite close to the manga, then I really don't see why you aren't reading the manga, unless you're just lazy and you just want to like, you know, sit down and eat baby food and look at something pretty. Which, I mean, to be honest, that is me. I am that person. I am like the person that's like, no, I want to see it animated. I don't care about the fucking book shit. But yeah, like I would rather it is different in some way. Oh, the cat's at the window, I think. Ah, you're still doing it, are you, Hazel? You stopped reading manga for a while, that's fair. And I'm ready to go back to it. Oh, very sweet. In the meantime, I've been slowly going through CC... Cardcaptor Sakura. The manga or the anime? Because the anime's pretty ballin'. I do like that anime. Oshi's Patlabor, right? Oshi's Patlabor films. I mean, they're just an extension of the show, right? Just they're different tones to some degree, but it's all the same creator. It's all the same sort of idea. I think they're just trying to do different things. So you know, the television show, the OVA, they're doing one thing, and then the you know, the TV shows, the mini episodes, the movies are doing their own thing. As Oshibi. Would I ever do a video on Ai Yasua? I don't know what that is. Japanese author. She the one that did Nana? Is that her? Oh, she's the director. She's the Madhouse director, isn't she? Yeah, Nana, Paradise Kiss. I don't know how to sell it. I don't know how to sell a video on her, I'm afraid. I could see me talking about... I don't even know if I could say that. I have no idea. I have no idea how to make a video on her. What would I could actually like put out there. I have absolutely no fucking clue how to do it. I am stumped, I'm afraid. Oh wait, so she is the mangaka. Sorry, she's the manga. Oh, okay. Sorry, she's not the director. She's the mangaka. That would still be really difficult, though. I guess I would have to focus it around like maybe Nana. Is that the most popular? I don't know. I fucking hate talking about manga. No offense or anything, but like I hate editing manga panels. I fucking hate handling it. So I try and avoid talking about mangakas unless I'm really interested. The anime, yeah, the fucking banger, absolutely. Oh, it's Cameron. Sorry, I missed your post, Brooks. I have no idea what did you say? Posters. Oh, do I buy manga and cartoon toys, statues for your room, or posters? I buy anime and manga stuff sometimes. I mean, I usually buy it for a video though, but sometimes I buy recreationally. It's really useful for me to buy stuff for like the extras and other bits and pieces, like the booklets you get. Sometimes I buy manga, but like I have a really bad habit of just not reading any books I buy, so I try and avoid it, to be honest. I don't buy statues or posters though, really, just because my room is a fucking mess and there's not enough space for anything. So like the idea of buying more stuff to fill it is just like a nightmare. I don't know. I'm not really that sentimental about that sort of stuff. I mean, on camera, it's none of your business, quite frankly. Well, I'd say it's none of your business if other people like to buy toys and clothes and gadgets, whatever. Let them do their shit. Like, I mean, to some degree, you're gonna need some clothes. I know that much. Like, I know some people like to buy an excess, but what are you gonna do? I don't know. I feel like some people buy stuff as a coping mechanism to like exist in the current world that we live in. So I'm like reluctant to be like, it's your exclusive responsibility that these companies are fucking you over. It's like, no, like you're an individual in a market that is against you. Like in the end of the day, you buying one more toy is not going to like just you not buying or buying like fight a toy on Amazon is not necessarily going to fucking end that as a company. I mean, I also believe in the fuck Amazon, but they kind of have such an oligarchy on the system. It is almost impossible to make a dent against them. Unless it's a very targeted with one. You gone, cat? Hey. God, you're deaf now as well. Well, I'm gonna leave the she wanted to come in, but she's moved away, but I can see her. So I'm leaving the window open and she can come in at her own time. I mean, Deeper is a questionable facet of like. I mean, the show is like much longer. There's a lot more there, but the movies, I guess, are like they do fit more into Oshi's build sometimes, but they're still fun in their own way. I know. I think it's all the same thing. It's all the same series, all the same people, all the same stuff. It's just different tones and like things trying to do. Oh yeah, you have a good one, Brooks. Uh, okay, Gabriel. That's an old ass video, the Miyazaki problem. I literally say what the problem is. I go, the problem is this at the end. Maybe you want to, I don't know, watch the video again. I don't know. Like it's more esoteric. Like if I remember right, it's been a while since I fucking made that video. I think the problem I stated was more so around like the future of Studio Ghibli. That like at the time when I made that video, I don't think it was. I think it was maybe just announced. Was it? Was it just announced, or had it not even been announced yet? That like he was planning to make another film, but like he would only live much longer, and that effectively now Takahata has passed away, Kondo's passed away, people have left the studio with Ponok. Like there's Goro at the studio, I guess, doing his CGI stuff, but like the studio to survive will have to change rapidly. So I guess my concept of the problem was that like he's very much the heart of Ghibli, and without him, what does the studio do? I think that was really the Miyazaki problem. As I put it down, was like, does it continue as a studio without him or not? Even though he's like the lifeblood of it. And you know, I think over time I've kind of came to the conclusion that Ghibli will probably survive in its own way, and it will just change to shape. And I hope that if Ghibli does survive, it becomes more of an active place for like young talent who like need an excuse, or I don't know, maybe smaller projects for these young talents to like get their name out there and use the branding to like help a whole new generation of people who've already worked at Ghibli for decades and have like a great talents. There's a lot of people who used to work at Ghibli who are so good, and they've kind of went on to make their own careers. So that'd be like Katabuchi or Katara Kosaka. Like these, there are definitely, and there's I think some at Production IG as well. But like the people who've been at the studio so long and they've kind of made up their own reputation, even though it's not as big as it should be because the studio never gave them such an opportunity. But yeah, and even some of the older people, like the director of Cat Returns. Hello, the kitty cat is here. So you finally shut up. You leaving? Alright, alright. Come on then. She's off. Oh, come on, cat. Nicholas, I probably wouldn't live in Japan because it's like too much groundwork to go. I mean, I have family and friends here, and I would prefer to stay close to them, quite frankly. The only reason to move to Japan would be work related. So it would if I was to given an opportunity, like a golden opportunity, like a golden egg opportunity in Japan to do something, if that be a film or an animation or something, or to work in my own and very much in control of my own thing with my own like a salary I couldn't say no to, and with all the assets I want, it would have to be a dream situation. I would say there would be no other reason to go for me, because why move to somewhere so alienating? Like I'm not invested in like the miracle world of Japan, this weird like lens of it as this crazy land you can go to, the world of opportunity, like Willy Wonka's fucking chocolate factory or something. No, it's just another place, and it's a place that I would find in a lot of ways very difficult to live in. For one thing, I'm a vegetarian, and that would be a lot harder in Japan than it would be where I currently am, even though it's questionable here. But a lot of people eat out in Japan, and it's harder to buy groceries on a consistent level at like the price I do now. I think that would be a struggle. I think the language barrier would be a struggle. I think the loneliness would be a struggle. I think the rent would be a struggle. I think finding a place to live would be a struggle. I feel like it would make a great vacation place, but not somewhere where I would like to live. I'm just not invested in that lifestyle. Yeah, JK. I tried to actually buy the whole Pat Labor series. There was a sale in America, I know. I had two issues though. First was the region locking, but I found a way around that. I was able to like do some overclocking of my PS3, and I found ways to like make it work. The issue was like it's post and package and what do you call it, like fees. It basically is just unviable for me to buy from America to try and get it over here. It's just too expensive, even with all the sales on, just too much. So I'd have to wait for like someone to import a copy and want to sell on eBay for like the whole complete series. So that's probably not happening. There isn't like an official English, like a full English release. Liam, it's probably best not to ask me what's coming out anime structure because I don't keep up with like the current landscape very well. I work on my projects, and that's like pretty much all encompassing. So like like right now I'm doing with Nausicaa, so I'm in right now in my brain I'm in 1984 in Japan. That's where my information is. That's what I know. I know the landscape of 1984 Japan in the current of an absolute hell of a production, making a film, or like I guess 1982 to start with to 1984, and then afterwards. That's kind of where I am right now in my brain. I have no idea what's happening right now in 2021 anime. Like I said, I have watched one anime this year, and it's Tashima on YouTube, which is a story about a little cat. That's all I've seen. The stuff with Sunny Boy that I've seen, like the clips I've seen, it looks great. The Wano arc of One Piece, I really love what the animators are doing on that. I've seen some other projects people have been watching, some screen grabs look very promising, very cool, but I just don't have the time to keep up. If I watch anything on the side, I tend to try and get away from anime because that's what I do all day, and I try and watch something else. that you know, it's like a good, you know, it's good to have like a sort of like a distance, like at some point in the day, just to sort of feel, you know, so I'm not living this. Oh, Pat Leatherby shot, that would be quite cute. I'm sure that's nice. I do have the Patlabor films, so a tree of like a double pack of those from back in the old days, like a DVD from like Manga UK from like I guess 20 years ago. I found it on eBay one day, but like yeah, I don't own any other Patlabor unfortunately. I'd like to own the whole series. I think that'd be a nice way to experience it. Would be to sit down and like actually just like sit in my bed with my projector and watch it. When did I first become interested in animation? When I was like 7, 6, maybe 5. I don't know. When I started watching cartoons, I guess. From the beginning, because I always wanted to be an artist or a cartoonist. I think I said. Yeah, Kamashi's cool. I haven't listened to his 3 hour album probably since it came out. Unfortunately, because it's really fucking long. I should probably sit down and listen to it sometime. Yeah, JK. Importing is a nightmare. Well, okay. JK, my issue is a little more complicated. Um, so I've found a way to make my PS3 region free. The issue for me is more the postage and the fees. Now, I did find a way of getting around the loophole. Also, my PC does let me play things without region. It's just it's really I don't like playing stuff on my computer. It's cumbersome. I like to be able to sit down and relax and be away from like distractions when I watch stuff because I have like multi bee brain, multi hive brain, maybe I should say. Well, I can't focus at all ever. I'm like all over the place at all times. I'm like an erratic, compulsive mess. So like to get away from a computer from time is nice. If I want to watch something focus, it's the best way of doing it. Would mean to be away from any kind of technology that will get me connected to the internet. But yeah, like I don't know. I've been looking into like I have looked like dabbled into like the 4K market a little bit, but like not to buy anything. I'm just like really curious about getting a copy of the 4K Ultra HD release of Good, Bad, and the Ugly, just because I think the colors look really nice on it. But I don't have a 4K screen, don't have a 4K player, so it's kind of like a fruitless endeavor. Like there's no reason really. But maybe one day in the future, maybe in 10 years' time, I'll sort that out. Well, Kevbot, I'd probably like to put it on the actual director because he's the one who scouted all the talent and did all the work. The guy from the One Punch Man director, he really went out of his way to get Sonny Boy Project under, and I guess Madhouse was willing to support him because they got a lot of like they got like a golden team of people to work with him, including Watanabe, who's on soundtrack, which is wild. But yeah, the colors, the design, the look of it all. I hope Sonny Boy is a hit. Because I mean, I thought Madhouse was like a shell of its former self, and it pretty much is. But if it can still be a vehicle for like director talent from time to time, I would be more accepting of its role in the future. Which is my favorite of the three? What of the three the album? I don't remember. I mean, to be fair, Nicholas, there's probably nothing wrong with just moving somewhere else for a time just to get like a different experience if you want to do it that way. Um, like I said, like if it was for a project, I'd do it. I have no like I'd have no reason to do it recreationally. It'd have to be for something that was worthwhile. Wait, Hazel, I should listen to the 3 hour album, Stephen. It's about you. Which 3 hour album? What the Marcy Washington one, or is this a different album? Link it to me, Hazel, please. I'll listen to it. I'll sit down and then listen to it. Vomits. These glasses are. I bought them I bought them off the internet because they're like. I broke my last pair. They were like I had screen glasses. These are like anti-blue light glasses that I wear when I'm streaming or like on the computer to, you know, avoid all the blue light that gets shot on my face every day. They're probably better than my last ones because my last ones had like yellow tint. I don't even know if they fucking did anything. I think they did, but these ones are like much better at like stopping blue light, and they look nicer. So there's that to it. I don't. I think there's a very specific blue light brand. I don't know what they are though. I'm afraid. You just look at blue light glasses. You'll probably find something close. Steph. I don't know what is sanctuary. Sanctuary. Sanctuary manga. I've not heard of this one. Looks cool. There's a guy with a gun on the cover. Looks cool. Very stylish. People in suits, their hands in their pockets. How fanciful. People shooting stuff. Yeah, that looks cool. Very sign-in, isn't it? Very sign-in. Yeah, the Kamashi oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, the Kamashi Wash and the Epic. Yeah, I went to see him live. He was really cool. He used to tell stories. Like they do this bit where his whole band that comes with him are like people he's known since he was like 6. So they have these like all stories from their youth where they've all like worked together and how they got into stuff. It's really cute. It's really cute seeing them like talk about like their history between yeah, basically between like songs. But I've heard the Epic before. It's just been a long time. I should rewatch. I should re-listen for sure. I mean, it is on my shirt after all. I remember going to London once, and there was a guy when I went into one of the museums, and he was asking me about my shirt, and I was like, "Yeah, I like jazz." We had a nice little conversation. He was very nice guy. I think he was very into the jazz scene. I think, and I was just like, "Yeah, this Kamashi watched, and he's a cool dude." It's on Brainfeeder Records, I think, wasn't it? So it was on like Flying Lotus's record. That's probably why I heard about it. Sorry, what was the point I was saying? The 4K future proofing. I mean, yeah, if you want to, I'm kind of like a late adopter of everything. I don't like to adopt early, especially because my eyes are really bad. So like me buying 4K is just like, yeah, what's that for? Well, your eyes don't fucking work. Yeah, good idea. Well, I'm really going to be squinting at like high quality footage that I can't read. But yeah, what a great time. I very rarely put my glasses on, my like real glasses. Only if I have to. Usually just when I'm cycling nowadays. I like to avoid wearing them when possible. I had to wear them a lot under my old job before I went like full time doing this. So like I prefer now to never have to wear them unless I really have to. Yeah, but yeah, back to the point. Yeah, I'll sit down and watch. I'll split up. I'll like listen to it an hour of the epic or something when I'm drawing. Maybe after I finish this. Out of the Patlabor films, the first one's my favorite. Oh, out of the ones I've seen at least. What are we chat? You know what, Carl? I have no idea what the fuck we're chatting about. I have lost the plot completely, and I actually need to go make dinner in a second. So I should probably cut this real. I should cut this before it gets too wild. We've been going for 3.5 hours, which is pretty good. It's been a nice rest on my wrist. I need to get back to drawing in a sec, and then I need to eat dinner first. Then I get back to drawing for a little bit, and then go to bed. Well, uh, Yahus. I'm glad you enjoyed Kite. Kite is a strong flavor. Like I said, I mean, I think I warned everyone enough in my video. I'm hoping. But yeah, it's a very stylish one. I think Umetsu is definitely an interesting director, but like I understand why not everyone would be into Kite for obvious reasons. But yeah, I'll probably be going in a sec. Yeah, this is me being... The aesthetic of the background is me being lazy, I guess. I just put one light here and my little light down here. And was like, that's good enough. I mean, I might have put more lights on. Maybe I put one on. What happens when I do that? Oh, okay. Okay, now we're a little brighter, a little bit brighter, aren't we? Wait. It's spookier this way. And then if I turn this on, we're kind of like in a furnace room now. We're a little bit brighter. And maybe if I could post that. We'll bring it over here. We'll bring it down there. Yeah, now we're just a little. Now we're like in the fiery house. I have another light over there, but I couldn't be bothered to put it in. That would be pointed at the back wall. But you know, it's kind of more dynamic with that light on, the lamp on, to be honest. But this is probably a little bit more well lit. But I'm going to leave that lamp on for now because I'm going to turn it on properly for the rest of the night. I'm going to turn these off because they're going to give me a migraine. They're very bright. That's why it's good to wear these glasses. Charon, I appreciate that you like what you're watching. I hope you keep watching and keep enjoying. Like I said, I'm working hard on the next video, as I do. I'm doing the best I can with it. Unfortunately, Abel, I never read Bleach back in the day or watched it back in the day. I think I saw like 3 episodes back when I was like 12. Wasn't a fan, so I probably wouldn't. I take my opinion with a very huge grain of salt. I think it's stylish, but yeah, I was never into it. But yeah, I need to actually go and yeah, I need to go and make some dinner, I guess. So yeah, I appreciate everyone coming and watching, and I will see you probably next time, which will be next Sunday. All the archives tend to get thrown on my Patreon. I need to share a link again. Usually what happens is the Patreon Discord that I run, that I put every stream on there. I make a playlist for the rest of them, which I should probably send another link to when I update it with all the other things. And I guess I should also, I've forgotten to do this, but I should do it for YouTube membership as well, because I should be giving them access to the playlist as well, but I haven't because I'm bad and I don't know what I'm doing. Thanks, Hazel. Nice to see you. I hope everyone enjoyed a little downtime, and I'll see you next week, probably on Sunday again, unless I end up streaming again earlier if there's something really specific I need to draw. But I've been drawing non-stop, so probably not. It's just I need to get it out of the way. But yeah, I will catch everyone next week probably. Hopefully in that time I make some good progress. So yeah, catch you then. Anyway, let me just check. I want to check. Yeah, this lighting now with that lamp on is a lot more full up, but not quite as spooky. I prefer the spookier lighting, to be honest. Though I suppose I could bring that up there. That's a little bit more. Yeah. Anyway, actually, I have another light like this at a friend's house. I need to pick it up because it's like a globe light. It might be better if I put that light here. Like a globe. I think it's stronger. It's bigger. I think so. Be good for like this kind of lighting. Anyway, I shall see everyone next Sunday.